100 scares up in my mind.
I'm ready,
What's
man.
up?
I am
You
ready.
ready to finish this thing off? Finish the story?
It's all about the game and how you finish it. So
Holy mackerel, we are finally here to finish the story on this damn 100 scariest movie moments from Bravo from back in 2004. It's been a hell of a ride. It's been a lot of weeks, man.
yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff on these lists that I don't think should have been on these lists, but these 23 that we're getting ready to talk about are all pretty solid, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're in a good spot right now. These are some good flicks that we're gonna talk about tonight.
So I
And
want
it's
to
gonna
ask
be
you this though before we
yeah,
get
go ahead.
started.
Yeah.
So every time, and this is no shit, every time that I go on another stream,
Mhm.
somebody in that stream is always like, "Hey, have you all thought about doing your top 50, top 100,
Mhm.
top 25, top whatever, horror movies or horror movie scenes or things like that?" And I'm like, I don't even know how the hell we would do that. Because like we would essentially have to like all do our own separate things. I don't think there's
Right.
any way that you could do like one where we all just got together and like voted or something on like which ones would get in there. I don't know how that
I'm
would work even.
I think to be honest, we should if we did it, we should have some meetings like leading up to it and then record those because it would like Wes will have his whiteboard, we'll be moving shit one way, we'll be like, all right, this one's gonna go over here. It'll be a
Yeah.
craziness because that's really how we have to do it is like what by like percentage? Like I don't even know how we would figure that out, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Like how would you do that? Like, I mean,
I really don't know. Like you'd literally probably have to just each make a list, see what comes up in both, find out those first, and then just kind of, you know, what what do they
but
call it?
you
What
would
is
you'd have to have a
y-
rating system that was like
yeah,
point ones, you know what I mean? So, like, you'd have to have, like, 9.1, 9.2. So, like, and we all would have to give a score, and I guess to get, like, a system, a program to average out all those scores and see, like,
oh
which
yeah.
ones,
We'd
match.
definitely be we'd be lollygag in the last 30, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
know?
I think the top 10 would be pretty easy. It's like everything after that that would suck to try to come up with.
Yeah, you know what though? I will give this credit. I mean, I think compared to I don't remember Shutter's list, but we can look back on that tonight.
Yeah.
I think this was a real strong top 10. Like when I saw this today, I was like, all right, wow, like they didn't mess around. They just gave us the goods for this top 10 here, I feel like where I don't know what Shutter did. Sometimes, they might make like, hot
Well,
takes or whatever, but
yeah.
this was a pretty solid like to the point. Yeah, these are the best movies right here.
Yeah, I mean, I there's no way I can argue with the number 1 on here either. Like, and I never would either on any platform that rates this movie number 1. I can't argue with it. Speaking of, well, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. But I watched an amazing documentary last night that I didn't even know existed and didn't even think anything about. Uh, and when we get to the number 1, I'll talk about that documentary if you remind me.
Okay.
'Cause it
I
actually
will.
ha actually has something to do with that.
All right, yeah, 100%. I will I'll throw through the chat now, see who's here, and then we'll get this thing started. All right, we got Dino in the house. What's going on, man? Can't wait to watch the show. Thank you, man. Hit the like button. Thank you, man. Vanderhoff's in the house. What's going on? Dead Pit's here. Let's finish the game. If you are on my channel, Dead Pit, we're doing a simulcast, so you can go subscribe to them over there on their side. And I'm saying let's finish the game as well. So if you're on Dead Pit side, you can slide over to mine and check it out over there. If you're not subbed, we got Jackson Jack in the house. Smoking weed, lift weights. To be honest, I did 0 of those today.
What the shit?
I did 0 of those today, and one I'm upset about, to be honest.
Let me tell you something, those 2 things are mutually exclusive. Like, when you smoke weed, you do not wanna lift weights. That's not like something you wanna do.
What up, Magic? Watch Trick or Treat today, you son of a bitches. You know what?
Yeah, man, that I'm
We
in the
were the
same boat.
first to know, the last to get. You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird things for real.
I'm just gonna be honest with you too, because like I don't really give a fuck anymore at this stage. Like I ordered the A and the C, right? So I ordered the A from Orbit, and I ordered the C from Synapse. I just didn't give a damn about the B. I don't know why. It's going to be one of those things. I'm not OCD like that. I don't have to have all three of them, but I did like the A and C covers, so I ordered, and I haven't got either one of them yet. So if that tells you anything,
Wow. Okay. I ordered A.
yeah.
But you know what is funny is that I did a little research today, and I guess that C right now is the most valuable, I guess. Like if you go on eBay, C is selling for like $300.
Are you
And
serious?
swear to God. And then A is selling for like about 200, and then B is there's barely any on there. If there are, they're like $60 or something.
See, look,
80
that's what I'm saying, man. The collector market is so wild. Like it doesn't make any sense to me anymore.
bucks. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same shit, just different art. So I don't know what
Yeah,
determines what's the more rare out of all of them. I mean, A and C are sold out. Those are gone. They're done.
yeah, yeah.
So B is the only one you can get. And, I like the idea that this is it. These sets are gone. They're gone. So if you want it, you got to go get B now. And if you don't, then they'll eventually do standard editions. But, the big boxes will always be the more valuable ones in a collector's market. But, I mean, yeah, if you're looking to turn one of those over, I mean, it seems like they're already jacked up on eBay already.
At this stage, I probably will sell C then if it's going for shit like that kind of money. Like that's ridiculous because they're going to come out with standards. Like I don't understand anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like I mean, I understand the idea, I guess, of like having something like that because of vinegar syndrome making that popular. But I just like
But
it's the
do you think
same
do you
fucking
think it was the
movie.
issue that they were having? There was big issues with getting it to Europe, right, or overseas. Like,
I hadn't
so is
heard
that
that,
why the
but
collector's market online is so high for these?
maybe I had not heard that though yet. So that would explain that more so if that's the case. Yeah, I didn't know.
Synapse would not ship overseas. I know that much. That was one I knew.
Well, I
As
mean, good
far
for
as
them
why
because
Orbit and Diabolic couldn't do it, or it had to do with rights because
yeah.
the rights were only for the US, I guess,
Well,
right?
it's kinda
So
like the reverse of what, Second Sight does. Like, they won't sell to US, but, off their site or anything like that, but they'll
right.
sell in Britain or England or whatever you wanna call it. And so it's kinda the same deal, rights issues. Yeah.
Mhm. I
But
mean,
I
I'll
didn't
say
know
good
that.
for Slippy though. I mean, he did all right. Those things are gonna be I mean, B is not gonna last long, so I
Not
mean, those
now,
will be
no.
gone by the end of the year, I'm sure. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, I mean, I think we all predicted those would sell out, but I don't think I would ever predicted how fast and how, like, you know, crazy that the prices would be on them already. Like, that's wild to me.
Do you think Don May's like, fuck you, I wanted it.
Yep.
I wanted that.
Mm.
So I don't know. I mean, I think to be honest, I don't know if it's him or whoever, but I can see something like Fright Night 2 doing the same thing. I
Yeah.
mean, and people were complaining about the price. I didn't think the price was bad. I mean, you got to think about the whole thing with these sets is that there was not like another edition that he pulled shit from, right? This was all from scratch features. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Yeah.
you got to think about everybody had to have been paid somewhere. You're thinking. So if these are all brand new, I'm sure there was money going out as much as there's money coming in. So to justify $66 or whatever it may be for this edition, I could see it. If they had a trick or treat last year and he ported like half the shit over, okay, that's different. But you're literally working from zero to build this, right? So I can see. I don't think 66 was asking too much, personally.
I mean, at the rate that things are going now, I don't either. Because I mean, if you look at Severin and then you look at a lot of Vinegar Syndrome's more like high end stuff now, and that's not. I mean, they're all roughly around the same price at this point. The only company that I haven't seen do that with is Arrow. Like even Arrow's like bigger stuff never really gets to that point. So I don't know how they're doing that, but God bless them
Mhm.
for doing
Yeah,
that.
I don't know who's you're talking about, but sure, I suppose so.
What? Jesus.
I don't know.
Oh, damn.
Saturn's habit number 2. Carter says, "Let's do this. All things come to an end." 100 skanks up in my mind.
That sounds like a great rap song.
Oh, what up there,
100
Cara?
tanks up in my mind.
Melski in the house. Finish it. Finish it.
Oh, we're gonna
What up,
finish it.
Vinny?
We're gonna finish the hell out of it too.
Secret ballad. Sure. Tier list, 10 apiece. Oh, we're talking about the doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Red to Kill. What is that? What is the red?
Red to Kill is the Cat 3 film
Oh,
about.
no, no, no.
Yeah. I don't even have to explain it. And he's like, no, I'm out.
I'm like, no.
Let me tell you, you do not want to watch. I'll tell you two that I watched recently that you never ever want to watch, Gary. Like, not that this would ever be a problem, but Red spells red and Centipede Horror, which are like
Hmm.
black magic Cat 3s, but they are chocked full of like real life animal deaths. I was like, what in the hell? It's like somebody watched Cannibal Holocaust and they were like, how can we like,
They're
top
like, we're gonna
that?
take
And,
the stuff we like the most out of this whole thing, and we're gonna
yeah,
just do that.
it's
No.
just wall to wall, just crazy. Like they did not
That's
give a
been
shit. They did
that's
not
been your
care.
Halloween watch list, huh? You're a big
No, I
October
didn't.
list.
I didn't watch that on the Halloween, man. Luckily, I watched it like before that, but like,
Oh, okay.
no, don't watch those movies. Actually,
Oh my
there is
god.
the animal cruelty free version that you like the Cannibal Holocaust one too has that on it. They've got that on there, so watch that if you
So basically,
want.
nothing happens. Is that what you're telling me?
It's 20 minutes long.
They're just walking
Turn
around.
off, yeah. They just stumbling around the forest. That's all that happens. Yeah.
Oh my god. What up, man? Bravo nailed number one in my opinion. I don't recall Shut It. I don't either, to be honest.
I mean, when we get, I can tell you, I've got it up.
Offerings, maybe. What's up, Killer Pizza? What's up, Scratch?
I can't
All
argue with
right.
either one of them either. I'll tell you the truth.
Trick or treat copy. Mine better be coming tomorrow. We're gonna do a big unboxing. All of
Mine
us.
is supposed to be here tomorrow, so I hope we all get ours then, so we can do it.
The Beast was the only one. Like, I don't think anybody. I think if you. I don't think anybody hates it. I think, to my opinion, I think if you had to. I just found that number that A always would pop the most for me. I don't know if it was the colors. The red, the design was good. My issue with the red was that it was red. That was my issue with it. Like when I think
Yeah.
of Trick or Treat, I think of orange and black. So to me,
Yeah.
I knew that's
Yeah.
what the scheme I wanted to go for. If the red one was black with that image, I think that probably would have been the one I went with. But I don't know why. I don't think anybody hates B. There's just obviously a reason that one didn't sell as fast. I don't know. Maybe it was the art, I guess. I'm not sure.
It'll be sold out by tomorrow anyway, though. Don't worry.
Yeah. What up, Faze?
At this rate, 200 in 5 years, $200 will be the decent price.
Is C the one where he's holding a person's hand? No, that's hey.
Oh man, have you seen that Congo cover yet? By the way, speaking of that,
I did. What is
I'm
going
like,
on with that?
what?
So
What is that?
let's talk in the chat right now, really quick, before we get into this.
Yeah.
What's the general conception on this Congo release? Because it's funny, when it was first released, I was at work, so a bunch of people were messaging me about it. And I had some people saying they thought it was going to be release of the year. And I'm like, I mean, it's fine. It's cool, but
I really like struggle with that because like
I mean, it's
I
cool.
remember
But I wouldn't say that it would be my release of the year. But no, what's the general census of? Because I saw people on the Vinegar Syndrome message boards bashing that big time, saying that like if Disney put it out, no one would give a shit or something.
Well,
like
that's
like
see, I hate that board because that's like the elitist Vinegar Syndrome people that want shit like, bat pussy and stuff like that. But I remember when Congo came out and watching it, I was 14 or 15. It sucked then, and it bombed. I'm pretty sure it bombed.
It bombed.
Yeah.
I don't know
Or
if it
at
bombed because
least
I think people were coming
underperformed.
off of like the Crichton craze with Jurassic Park, so I think it might have did well, but I know it didn't get good reviews. It bombed in that sense. It might have like started hot, but it was not universally loved by any means. No way. I thought it was okay. I know I went into it expecting Jurassic Park, but you didn't really get that. But
so to
it's
me,
fine.
it kind of falls in the same category as Navy SEALs. It's like I don't need either one of those. I think they made a mistake by doing either one of those as these big releases or whatever. But that's what they're kind of doing now. For some reason, they're branching out into that area of the kind of like whatever that is.
It's the VSU line. That's where they're going out. like with the more of the blockbuster stuff, the out of the box type mainstream movies they're using for that line, which again I'm fine with. I'm gonna get it. I only have Congo on DVD. I probably haven't seen Congo since the DVD came out, whenever the hell that was. So it's been quite a while since I've seen it, and I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it'll be cool to watch it all, spruced up in 4K for the first time. I don't
This
know what I'm
one,
gonna think. I don't think I need it though, but I'm just curious that like that are people excited or are they not excited? Because I'm seeing like both sides.
this is exactly what it is to me. It's that same kind of
I
energy.
agree. I do agree with you, Mikar. I think that there's 1,000 things that are in the same boat like that, and I do agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they could release anything, and there's gonna be this group of people that are gonna be like, "Oh my god, like, that's the release of the century." It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean that's the thing. I guarantee if Godzilla 2000 got a VSU, it'd be the same
Mhm.
story. I think. Uh, Weston says, "Who doesn't love Amy and Congo? Amy Good Gorilla.
Jesus, I forgot about
Amy
that.
Good Gorilla."
Gorilla. Remember it had the power glove or whatever?
Yeah.
You could
Oh yeah.
talk through a computer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God, I
It
hope
is
we're having
interesting that they did get it though too, because that does seem like a pretty big. That's like them getting Twister or something. It just seems like it is a pretty big name. I would think, right? Like that was
it
a
is, but it's like it's just one of those movies that I don't understand who the audience is for it, really. That's my biggest thing with that movie. Like, who really wants Congo except for Rambo? I mean, he really, really wants Congo. But like 90s kids, I guess, that like just nostalgia.
probably
Yeah. It's not a good
again.
movie though. It's just not a fucking good movie.
I'm
It's the
fine with it.
same.
Like I'm excited to watch it again. Did I need it? No. Is it cool that Vinegar Syndrome's doing it? Yes. My biggest concern was I just was not sure if this thing was going to sell like very quick. So that's why I was like, I don't want to miss it. But there was no numbers on the site either. So I'm like, is this thing selling or is everybody
Well,
laughing behind the scenes? Like I couldn't gauge like what the story was here. So I wasn't sure if I should grab it early or just wait.
well, the answer to that, because we figured out when we were on the Friday Night Live stream, the code to go in and see like how much inventory is left on their site. And we actually checked
Oh,
it, and as of Friday night, they'd sold 2,500 of them. So they had 10,000. So there's a lot left. There's no need
okay.
to rush or anything like that.
Steve Congo McMichaels. Yeah.
Congo, baby, and Peppy.
He's a cook mongo. Batman Forever buried it. Did it really? Was that all the same time, huh? Wow.
God, that'd be another one they could release
This
for a
time a
VHS.
rose
Batman
in May.
Forever. People would be like, "God,
Ooh.
that's my favorite movie." Uh,
What? I was excited for Blood Tracks. No good? It was like I'm always like a sucker for these 80s slashers that I haven't seen.
yeah, that's like I was saying to somebody the other day. I'll buy any of those. Like, I don't care if it could suck. I mean, Last Slumber Party sucks worse than anything, but
Do you really think it'll be like it'll be in stock forever? I don't
no,
know.
not like that. I mean, it will be in stock for a while, but it will sell out eventually.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of the consensus. I was just hearing so many different things. And, like I didn't think something like Navy SEALs would sell out anytime soon. But that's why I wasn't sure like what the situation with Congo was. I mean, Roadhouse sold out quick. Um, what else sold out fast for them?
I mean,
Showgirls sold out fast for
Showgirls,
them.
yeah. Are you talking about the bigger titles or just in general?
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, I think Texas Chainsaw 2 sold out really quick. Um,
I mean, Sidekicks is still hanging around for a
Sidekicks,
while.
I need to go check the numbers on that too and see how many of those are left. Uh, I'd be curious because that could be one that could be around forever too, and they keep trying to offload that one.
If I could pick any movie to get a VSU, what would it be? I mean, see, I think when it comes to me, you got to remember they don't do horror, so it can't be horror. But it's also going to be a movie that I think I would really want. That, like, a part of me is like, oh, Bloodsport, but I mean, I have a nice 4K of Bloodsport Steelbook, so do I really want that or need that? I mean, I'm still going to stick to my guns and say like, Run with Patrick Dempsey. That's a movie I've wanted to come out so long. It's stuck on VHS and Laserdisc. I think that would be a super cool movie, but I don't think it's popular enough. I don't think anybody really knows.
There's 2 I can think of, Garrett, and I think you'll agree with me on both these. Do you remember that movie, Toy Soldiers?
Oh, hell yeah.
I
I
would
got it right
love
here.
to I would love to have that on something like halfway decent, and, Fast Getaway. Either one of those
It's not
movies.
Fast Getaway, yeah. But I think
The
if they do Fast Getaway, they gotta do both. They'd have to do
They
a double.
probably would. They probably
Yeah.
would do that. Yeah.
Prayer of the Roller Boys, I think would be a cool one
Yeah.
for me. I would love to see that in a good set. Um, I know I haven't seen this movie. I don't know much about it, but I know Mel's a real big fan of that movie Chase, The Chase.
Oh, with
I'm looking at
Charlie Sheen and,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and that's
great
why
movie.
I thought of it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Like, I don't want something I've already got. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, I'm not going to get excited if it's something I recently bought.
Well, if you're talking about something that's never been out
Just something
before,
that maybe never been out like since DVD, or maybe hasn't had a good edition in a long ass time. I'm looking at my non horror stuff right here and thinking if anything jumps out at me, but I know like I'm just trying to think if something's come out recently. I mean, I'd like to see Encino Man. That would be sick.
I could see them doing that.
Because that doesn't have any release other than DVD. Surf Ninjas, I would freaking love that. Three Ninjas, I would love that.
High Noon on, what is it? High Noon
Freaked would be
yeah,
cool.
Freaked would
Oh,
be good, yeah.
You want the one with Hogan.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, Suburban Commando of VSU would be pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ramsey.
The Chase is one of those weird movies that just isn't out on anything.
Mm-mm.
I was talking about that one. Yeah, like what the deal is with that movie. There's several movies like that though that kind of got lost in the 90s.
Iron Eagle doesn't have a release either. Remember that movie?
Yeah, of course, because it had Dio in the soundtrack. Like
Airborne would be sick.
Very few movies that had Dio in their soundtrack.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many that they could do. I like it. I like the line. I think it's a fantastic line. I like just the oddballness of it and the fact that they put a lot into those releases, like really when it comes to the packaging and stuff. So I'm a completist when it comes to that line. So I will get it. I was just curious on people's opinion on it because I wasn't sure how fast I should sneak this thing into my cart. But I think the keep is probably going to be their release from for Black Friday.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Congo's been talked about for a long time for VSU, and after you don't see it for a while, you're like, nah, they're not doing it. And then all of a sudden it comes out. I was like, how did that leak so long ago? Like, how did people guess that? Because people have been talking about Congo for like 2 years, and it's just one of those movies. Like, how did anybody have a clue about that's the one they were gonna do?
Sometimes I just wonder though if enough people talk about a movie long enough, they just get it. And it doesn't really, you know what I mean? Like they're not really guessing it. They're just kind of
I would love Over the Top. Actually, that's probably almost a perfect answer for me. I would love that. I'm a sucker for that movie. But all right, let's get into our list. We've got 23 to talk about.
Somebody mentioned Detroit Rock City though. I want to see that out on something.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so yeah, what are we at? 23.
23, and that is a classic. We got a little Rosemary's Baby action, which, man, I agree that this deserves to be here.
I don't think anybody would disagree. I mean, other than the fact of who the director is, there's really nothing wrong with this movie. It's one of the first movies that I think ever really fully did that whole idea about everybody's in on something except the main, star. And you don't know it until, the very end of the movie, really, like what exactly in the hell is going on. But you get the idea that something is going on. I love movies like that, by the way. That's one of my favorite. I don't know what you call it, like a subgenre, where like either a town or a group of people or something are in on something.
Like Wicker Man?
Yeah, Wicker Man's a great example. But like the lead protagonist doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Would you say Sentinel's kind of in the same boat as that, or?
Yeah, it is in the sense that most of the people around that hotel knew what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I think Rosemary's Baby is an effective movie. It's always been up there as a classic for me. I think it really has gotten soured on over the years because of, the director, but I didn't really know about that whole story until not too long ago. So to me, Rosemary's Baby was always top notch stuff. And I mean, it's scary, it's disturbing, and I think it definitely deserves to be here on this. And it's still just a cool movie. Like when they finally like see the baby and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
great, man.
That reveal, when she walks up to the bassinet or whatever, it's like one of the best scenes. It's one of the best scenes ever.
Conspiracy movies, I guess you could say that, right?
Yeah. You know what a great conspiracy movie is like that too, where something's going on, the whole town's in on it? Troll 2.
Man, you know,
They all know except for the kid.
for real, what's so funny though? It's like, because that's like one of the best worst movies. It really is like I think Troll 2 is such a fun movie, man. Like for real. Love it, love it.
Yep.
But there's so many of those in like the 80s and 90s that are not great movies, but they're just fun as hell. But Rosemary's Baby is a classic, man. It was one that, I put top tier in the horror genre for sure. And I think number 22, I would kind of say similar. I mean, I think Don't Look Now is a great flick. I mean,
Yeah.
you got Sutherland in there. I mean, this
I
is
feel like
one that I feel like doesn't get enough love anymore.
I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of people slept on this movie for a long time, and it was like review shows like this, and those Bravo style shows that really, I think that's the only reason a lot of people saw that movie, because nobody around that time was talking about that movie. I can tell you that from being in horror realm at that period of time. Like nobody really referenced that movie then. It became more and more popular over the last 20 years because people started talking about it. Like word of mouth got that movie back. And it is crazy because of the ending, but really above all else, that movie is like just a movie about grief, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and you're right. It doesn't. I think this may have been when I first heard about this movie. But then I used to work at this gym, and there was this guy that was into like movies and stuff, and he knew I was into horror, so he would always like bring movies in for me to check out. And this was one. He brought me Dead of Night to check out. Magic was another one he brought me in to
Yeah.
check out. So like that was I every time I hear this movie, I always think of him because he's like the person who brought me in. Like it was either the DVD or the VHS or something, and he's like, "Oh yeah, borrow this." And I remember checking it out and being like, "Oh, that was really really good." So, but now it's got like a Criterion release, I think, and
Yeah, it's got all kinds of different releases now, like a Studio Canal release, like, yeah.
so
It's a
definitely a
great
good
movie.
one. Yeah, it's cool to see it here, just because again, it's one of those ones that, in my opinion, is kind of considered a classic, but not enough people really give it as much love as I think it deserves. And bringing it down to 21, I think we've both talked about this movie before, and I know when it comes to scary movies and freaky movies, Jacob's Ladder is right up there, man. It's like a fever dream watching that thing.
I love the fact that movie came along too in a period of time where nobody really knew where the horror genre was going, and this dude just comes out of nowhere with this movie, which is just like nothing, has nothing to do with like slasher movies that came before it, or
Mhm.
nothing really to do with anything that would come like ahead of it. It exists in this weird kind of vacuum of like being its own thing completely. It's such a fucking wild movie, man, that just out there with a lot of the imagery. And I feel like that was the main thing. Like it's just a movie chock full of nightmarish imagery that you can't really get out of your head after you see it.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't know. I don't think these really have to do with each other. I don't know why I always categorize these together. Maybe I bought them around the same time, or my uncle showed them to me at the same time. What do you think of the movie Altered States? Are you a fan of that one? I feel like that's another movie that nobody ever talks about. But to me, I always like categorize it in the same category as like Jacob's Ladder, like in that same tier level. But nobody ever talks about that one. Are you? I never knew what your opinion was on that movie.
I actually like that movie quite a bit. I actually like the soundtrack to that movie quite a bit too. Um, it's a weird movie, but the idea of like what the plot of the movie is in altered states and things like that, it's something that I've been interested in forever. Like, the sleep wake cycle and all that stuff. And yeah, So I kind of had a personal interest in that movie too.
Mm. Now, Jacob's Ladder, I mean, obviously, the big scene everybody remembers is the damn tail.
Of course, yeah. But
Uh,
there's 10 different scenes in there that are just
mhm.
equally as disturbing, really. Um, you know, just these visuals like that this guy concentrated on to just scare the piss out of you, like and everything. And you don't know if it's a fantasy, you don't know if it's reality, you don't know what's going on, you don't know if he's hallucinating. Yeah. I really do like movies like that too, though.
Mhm. For sure. It's not one we see often. Couple things popping through. Chip says, Happy Godzilla Day. I heard about that. It's Godzilla Day, isn't it? Why is that? Is that just because it came out today? I'm a big Godzilla guy, so I'm cool with whatever. Um, I grew up with Godzilla. This is funny. Mick Hara says it. He's going to Sturgis this year with his motorcycle. He's going to wear his Scream Factory pins on his back.
He's the only person ever getting use out of them pins in.
That'd be so killer. He's got the little Scream Factory pins. Saturn says Jacob's Ladder is one of his all-time favorites, ahead of its time.
Yeah, it is.
Being a fan of Altered States. Oh, a little super chat came in from Spectres Chambre. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Again, I think that's what I think it is both of these movies have some crazy visuals for sure.
Yeah.
What up, kid? Yeah, don't trip in isolation tank. So you turn into a monkey. For sure.
It's what happens to you. Yeah, you come out fucking monkey.
running around the city.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of had a Jacob's Ladder. Remember was Albert or something? Oh my god. All right. We're on the top 20, people. And I think this one's going to have a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe a controversial take on this one. I'm cool with it because of my experience with this movie. But number 20 is The Ring, coming in at number 20. Now, I didn't know about Ringu until I saw The Ring. And I'm going to tell you, sitting in that theater, I almost shit myself when that freaking thing came out of the television, sitting that there. Like, that was a moment that literally, like, freaked me out. Like I got hairs standing on the back of my neck or whatever. Like, that never happened to me. And when that came out, you got to remember, you and I weren't kids either. Yep. So a lot of these people, like, I remember The Ring when I was 10. Like, I was in college, I think, when The Ring came out. And I don't want to say this, but it had to have been maybe 2001, maybe, or 2000. I don't know. Let me see.
I think
2002. 2002.
Okay, so that perfectly explains what I'm getting ready to say. I think that probably is put on that list because of the timing of that list. I mean, I agree that the movie is, like, you know, very notable. Should it be that high on this list? Probably not. It probably has a lot to do with it was just released and, like, when not too long before this list was made. If you look at the Shudder list, it's not even in the top, like, 25. Or I'm not even sure where it is on the Shudder list, if it's on there. But I think that might be a product of its time, and people were still, like, really they were not oversaturated with that style of Asian horror yet, like it would get later on.
I agree 110% with what you just said. I think at the time, The Ring was really, really loved universally, and that's why those movies kept coming and coming and coming. And because we were saturated with it for so long, and there was a lot of shitty ones that started to come out.
Oh yeah.
And I think it kind of turned people against The Ring a little bit. And, you know, obviously being 20 years old now, it doesn't have the same effect as it did for that first time viewing, but you got to take into consideration just at the time, it really was my introduction to, you know, Japanese horror. Like, it really, or anything along that lines at that point in time. And then it used, you know, then I sought out Ringu because I was so obsessed with this movie because it was nothing like I've ever seen before. And then there's another movie we're going to talk about on here, which really got me to go down that rabbit hole with that kind of stuff. And it was because of this list that I was introduced to that movie. But I don't know. I mean, I can see people being like, oh, it doesn't deserve any top 20. Oh my God, it's ahead of Rosemary's Baby. But I think that it was still so white hot at the time.
Yeah.
That I think that's what kind of put it at this spot, this 20 spot. But it's not as effective anymore. But I'm going to tell you, seeing that in the theater for the first time, it was damn effective for me. for sure.
Well, I always like to what Friedkin said when they were talking about like classic movies, and he said something like, you need like 20, 30 years, of a movie being out before you can say, okay, this is a classic movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because it really needs to kind of sit there, and people need to kind of like go back and watch it, and it needs to have a kind of a life to where you actually see, was this just like kind of like a product of its time, kind of flash in the pan thing, or is this actually like a classic movie? And I agree with that. Like, I think that a movie has to be out for a certain amount of time before you can be like, okay, this is a bona fide classic movie. The Ring, I think, has some like classic scenes in it. I don't know if I would say it's a classic movie. I don't know if
Mhm.
I would go that far. I don't know if I'd say it's up there with like, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Night of the Living Dead, or, shit like that.
It's hard too because like literally it was an adaptation of a popular movie here in the States. So it's hard to think, oh my god, it's such a classic because it really was just an American adaptation of another movie. So it's but again, I found it was effective. In 2004, it was still white hot. Um, Mel said that, I agree that even the scene in the closet was another freaky
That
scene for
closet
the
scene
first
is,
time.
yeah, that is a good one.
When you see that and the music when they show her in there or whatever. I mean, 7 days. I mean, how many times did we probably do that?
Yeah.
It's, it's, but yeah, I would definitely say I'm cool with it being here. With all things said and done, I can see why it's not here now on modern lists, but I think at the time it's fine. Um,
The next one's surprising to me, about how it's surprising to me by how high it is on this list more than anything.
yeah, that is Hellraiser, and I agree. I mean, Hellraiser's funny to me because it's not personally like a big favorite franchise for me. It never was. Um, I like the first one. A lot of people like the second one better. I still like the first the best. 2 and 3 are fine, but they were never movies that I go back to and watch on a regular basis. So to me, I just don't have as much of a connection to Hellraiser, I think, that other people do. I see why this one is here. I think the first one is very unique in its own way,
Yeah.
which I think as they go on, they kind of change a little bit from what the first one did. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the whole Hellraiser thing?
Okay, first of all, I think that that's one of, if not the most mismanaged franchises ever. Just in the quality of the movies that came out, like, were just so bad after it still is. Like, they're still cranking out horrible reimaginings and reboots and shit of that movie, and it'll probably never stop. It's right up there with like Children of the Corn and you
Mhm,
know,
mhm, mhm,
some of those other movies that just have horrible, Texas Chainsaw. But the first film, like you were saying, is just so unlike anything else that came out to that point, that I'll give it 100% like credit for creativity. Um, because I don't remember seeing anything like that up to that point, and I don't remember really seeing, that many copies of that kind of style after that. I mean, it's a very hard thing to pull off. And the weird thing about that movie is the effects still look great to this
mhm,
day. The
mhm.
skinning effects and stuff in that movie still look amazing. And that was back when the Cenobites were menacing too. Like, that was actually something that was scary and new, and before it got to be more like they're coming out with fucking, not like
It's more of
Freddy puns or anything,
a
but like,
gimmick or whatever,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a gimmick to where they're gonna say something that's gonna try to be a catchphrase, and it's just Pinhead's gonna try to be clever, and nobody.
Yeah.
Oh,
That I think that's what kinda happened too, is it like you said, I think mismanaged is a great way to put it. Um, I don't know the whole story about this, like, I don't know if there's documentaries on the new 4K. I haven't dug deep enough into those special features yet, but, what are the reasons? Just studio changes, like, that this just kind of went completely off the rails as far as the movies themselves? Like, did they just not know what to do? And they were like, "Well, it's a popular franchise and it's a big name, so let's just keep pumping them out."
Yeah, I think it falls in the same kind of thing as all these franchises do, really. So up until 3, they're pretty much playing it straight, right? It's the same kind of story over and over again. And then 4, they're like, well, let's take it back in time and then take it up in space. And then once you get to 5 and beyond, it's like, well, let's have like a criminal psychological drama that really it wasn't even supposed to be a Hellraiser movie, but they had like a property and they put Pinhead in it. He just kind of shows up in flashbacks. Then there's the one where he's in a video game, like a virtual reality kind of it's like they just ran out of ideas,
I'm
man.
telling you, after 4, I think I must have seen those other ones like once.
Yeah,
Like,
there's no
they don't
need.
none of those I don't remember any of those like at all. And like the difference of them. I don't know if it's even worth going back and watching, but
It's
just out of
not.
curiosity, I'm like, I don't even
It's not.
remember like how bad it got. I mean, I do remember when they changed the guy to another guy.
It
Remember
got
that?
bad. It got like Hell World, Hellseeker, Deader, um, and once you get into like was the Judgment ones and all that stuff, like that's when you get really bad. Uh, and what was the one with Fat Pinhead? I can never remember that one where they changed the guy.
Revelations or something? Was that what
Yeah,
it's
I mean, once you get there, you're at the bottom of the barrel, really. I don't think it ever got any worse
Fat
than
Man.
that.
Uh, Mike said a good something in here that I agree. The first one, especially, and even the second one, it felt like something you shouldn't be watching. For sure, it had a very different feel to it.
Yeah.
The first one with Frank and all that, like it was a cool movie. And I'd have to say, I guess I'm fine with it being at 19. I guess. Um, sure. I mean, I think it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, you could at least you could say it introduced like an iconic character. There's no way you could argue that. I mean, you could put it on there just for that if you wanted to.
Mhm. Well, that's number 19. We got Hellraiser coming in, and then following up at 18 is a classic, The Haunting. Not the remake from the 2000s, but
That'd be awesome if they put that on there. There
I
you
don't.
go.
You know, it's so funny. I was like so excited when that remake came out. That was like the years of the
Everybody
remakes,
was. Yeah.
because like that was like we didn't really see a lot of remakes, or at least
Mm.
maybe because of the age that we started to really notice because this must have been was this like late 90s, maybe
Yeah.
2000,
I wanna say
2001?
it was it either super late '90s, like 97, 98, something like somewhere around there. Somebody can put it in the chat, but, like, that's a movie where when I first saw it, '99, when I first saw that movie, I knew I didn't like it. Like, it just it wasn't like
I
you had to
agree.
think
And I was
about it or anything.
stoked. And the reason I knew the time frame because it was like I feel like it was one of those movies that I remember driving to and I didn't and it was like one of those early movies where you finally like, all right, I'm gonna pick up friends or a girl, whatever. I'm gonna go to the movies at Friday night, like and you're driving. So I knew that was kind of had to have been like a late 90s thing. And this was kind of the early stage of like we're gonna start remaking everything before like House on Haunted Hill and all that stuff came out. And you're right. I saw it and I was hoping for the best. And I was like, this wasn't scary. And then the CGI was a fucking mess at that point. So, like,
Yeah.
all
The
that shit
ending
at
was
the
a
end and
mess
stuff
too.
was brutal. You're like, how am I supposed to be freaked out or frightened by this thing? It's just like, looks like a cartoon.
It was just such a like, convoluted, that's the word I'm looking for. It's a convoluted movie with a horrible ending and just, like, all that CG before it was really there's that really bad era of, like, CG where it was really noticeable anytime you put it in a
Oh,
movie. Yeah. It's just got everything in the world going against it, and, yeah, Lily Taylor's stupid face, she wasn't very good in it either.
but listen, no, guys, this isn't the one that's on the list. We kind of veered off into
Yeah,
it.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is not
This
yeah.
didn't make the list. No, this is the OG one, the old school.
The actual, like, one that we're talking about is 1963, The Haunting, not the remake.
Which again, now it is what it is, but I can see at the time it being very effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's kinda like the granddaddy of, well, it's I won't say it's the first, but it's definitely one of the first that made it really, really popular, like the haunted house kinda movies. Um there was a lot of haunted house movies before this, but I think that this one really kinda, like, perfected what that was too, where it
Mhm.
made it, like, not as much about what you see as, like, what you don't see.
So I guess I can understand it being here on the list because of just being so iconic for the horror genre,
Yeah.
that they threw it here at 18. Um, and as we move on to 17 is, again, I can see this. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is a scary movie. I mean, it's back in 84. This I can see this freaking some people out. This was different. This wasn't the slashers that we were used to or people were used to at the time. It was a little bit deeper
Yeah.
than the normal, chase and slash or whatever, stalk and slash. And I can see that this deservingly should be here. I mean, what do you say? You Elm Street guy?
I couldn't tell you if I'm an Elm Street guy, really. I think that franchise I struggle with the sequels of that franchise a lot. Um, but I can tell you that first film, like, was completely different than any of the other, like, the Friday the 13th or your Halloweens, because, like, Freddy is an actual personality, right? Freddy's an actual actor that gets to improvise and produce, like, these legendary kind of performances that he did, and that's the thing that separates that movie from, like, those other ones to me. um, is Robert Englund and, like, what he actually did with that. He's not a big guy either. That's another thing. So, that's what when Rob Zombie came out and he's like, "Well, fucking, Michael Myers needs to be this huge dude. You won't believe that he can kill people." It's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So, he brought in, 6'10" Tyler Mane or whatever, and
Yeah, Sky, whatever, Big Sky. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, what are you talking about, dude? Like, so I'd say Robert Englund's 5'9", something like that. I think that's around, but it's how he performed that's actually what made that movie scary. It had nothing to do with, like, his physical presence or anything like that. And it's the
Mhm.
idea of the movie that was great too.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is, and when you watch, because I just recently watched the first one again because of the 4K, and it looks fantastic, by the way. Really good job with it. But it's funny because you can see the difference just from that first movie to the second movie on him really trying to figure that character out. Like he plays it
Yeah.
very different as even from the first to the second. And once he hits three, he's golden, with that character and stuff.
I got to imagine that somebody had either him or one of the producers or somebody watched part 1 and was like, "You know what really works in part 1 is, like, when you do the little, like, dark humor stuff. So why don't you just do that, like, all the way through part 3?" Like, and then to me, that's kinda that's what had to happen. Like, then they just singled that out, and then that became the whole
Yeah,
thing.
because there's even scenes in the first one where I think he like I still and it looks like kind of cheesy, but it's so cheesy that I think it's creepy is when he does the long stretch arms and he's walking. Like, you can tell it looks a little bit wonky, like, as far as, like, the mechanics of it and
It
whatnot,
does,
but it
but
makes it look
yeah,
freaky.
it's almost like what you would see in a dream. Like, it works
Right.
because, like, it's so wonky that it kinda fits in that universe.
Mhm. And I think there's another scene too where he's, like, chasing her and he's kinda, like, doing this, like, it
Yeah, he
doesn't
is.
seem like
He's,
he
like,
doesn't
running
seem
like
like how he would be in any of the sequels. It's like
yeah.
he never moved around like this weird, like, little, like, run or whatever, but that's what kinda makes it funny to watch that first one because he's trying to, figure that character out and how he wanted to be, but, um like, it's a classic, man. I mean, agree. There's people in here that say, there were kids that weren't going to sleep after seeing this in '84, and I can definitely see that happening for sure.
The ending of that is a mess, though. I will say that with I mean, that has to be one of the best movies with one of the most fucked up endings ever, 'cause it doesn't make any sense. It
What,
just
the blow-up
doesn't.
doll coming
The
through the
blow
window?
and that, and then the car just driving away with the Freddy top and all that shit, and just like, I mean, people might like that. I just always thought, man, you get all the way to the end of that. I would have just shut it the fuck off. I would have just had her, like, get in the car before doing all that stuff. I just had her get in the car and drive off and then have Freddie laugh or something in the background. That'd be it, rather than
Yeah,
do
like you
that.
would. It didn't really need the twist, kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't need all that at all. Could have gone out. and blow up Dolly's killer to watch now. Like slow mo it. Yeah.
Like a balloon. What up, Greg? Let me see. So Jackson Heather said that the long arm scene works great on screen, but then when they were filming it, it was embarrassed. It was going to be like, this is going to look shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing about 80s effects that like because they looked off, it made it look kind of cool. Like even going back and watching something like I always think about Teen Wolf when he's transforming and he's looking at himself in the mirror and it's all just that
Yeah.
claymation on his face. Like it looks so silly and stupid, but it looks so freaky at the same time that it kind of works. So to me, I always find it just looks really good. And that's like what we said about the long arms. It looks shitty, but in like kind of a cool way.
Well, I agree with this. Somebody said this in one of these kind of, doc things. They were like, any practical effects look better than any CG effects. Like, because the CG stuff just, for some reason, just takes you out of the movie. But the practical, even if it looks really horrible, like it's still in that, it's still in the actual being
Right.
done in that actual space. So it looks
Mhm.
better somehow. And I agree.
Oh, I remember that. I love the intro to the cartoon. Sick. Um,
Yeah, I agree with the Spook House too. The drunk mom in A Nightmare on Elm Street is that Ronnie Blakely is awful in that movie. She is there's just no getting around that. John Saxon probably don't remember he's in that, or I mean, he didn't remember he was in that movie. I guarantee it.
16's interesting too. This is another one that, growing up a horror fan, it was always a top dog, and I feel like it's kind of gotten watered down throughout the years as far as what I hear people say about it, if anything. That's the Omen that's coming in at number 16. It's still getting sequels, it's still getting remakes, it's still out there by name, but I don't know. For some reason, I just don't feel like you hear much about the Omen or the Omen getting,
Mhm.
crazy treatment. What has it? When's the last time is it a 4K? Do they have a 4K of the Omen?
That's a
Or
good question. I don't know.
it's just
I
got that box set from Scream Factory, right?
Yeah, that's the last thing I really remember, but it probably does have a 4K, but I don't there wasn't a big deal made out about it if there is one. The if you wanna do something just, like, to get an idea of, why I think The Omen was as influential as it was, turn all the lights off in your house and put on the fucking soundtrack, and just sit there for about 30 seconds, and
30 seconds over.
that's all you need is about 30 seconds. That chanting Latin soundtrack in that movie, Jerry Goldsmith, I think, that's just one of the creepiest damn things ever. And I think it was just the subject matter, really, like, you know, that got people more so than it was the movie. The movie was like a big studio movie. Had a couple of like cool scenes in it, like the glass scene and everything, but like over and the hanging scene, of course. But
That freaked
overall,
me out when I saw that for the first time as a kid on
yeah,
VHS. I remember when that happened. It's like, "For you, Damien," and I was like, "What the hell?"
yeah. Yeah, that's a great scene too. Just because like it takes place like broad daylight with a ton of people around and you just get
Mhm.
this feeling of like, okay, like what in the hell, what is going on?
Yeah.
Um, but that's a movie that I don't think would work without that score.
Yeah, I agree the score is great. Did you see the new one? The new Omen one that came out?
Yeah, I actually thought that was fairly decent. I
Yeah, it was
was
pretty good.
amazed that how good it was really because I thought there's no way.
Yeah. I mean, it was Omen's an interesting one too when it comes to the whole franchise. You got Damien, which I guess is okay. The other ones are kind of weird after that. I know they got that Sam Neill one. Then you had the remake. Then you had the
I just
remake one.
Yeah,
That
the
was pretty
final
much of
conflict.
yeah, the remake was almost like a carbon copy of the first one pretty much.
I think
And
that's
then
may have been one of the first movies we went and saw and did like an on the road of because I remember going to see that and just being like, "Oh, that's bad." I mean, it had, like, a couple of cool scenes in it from what I can remember. I can barely remember. That's the last time I've seen it, if that gives you any idea. So, yeah, you can't really do a remake of The Omen. It's just
his
not.
mother's a jackal.
Yeah.
That was freaky. when they uncover the
Yep.
bones. But yeah, I like the Omen. I feel that's another one. There's a bunch of movies that, in my opinion, just nobody ever praises anymore. I feel like Omen's one. I feel like Amityville Horror is another one that I feel
Uh-huh.
like people just all of a sudden just like turn their back on. Where I'm like, man, like that was always, that would have been considered a classic to me, as a kid.
I think it's
Um,
easy to forget though now, like how influential those movies were, or just how fucking creepy they were when they first came out, and it kinda gets lost now because we got all this other stuff, but
mhm.
yeah.
But the Omen at 16, which again, to me, it's a heavy hitter. I can see it being here. 15 was actually, this was the first time I'd ever heard of this movie, was when this list came out
Yep.
personally. And that's a movie called Freaks, which then as soon as I watched this thing, I ran out and grabbed the DVD of it. And I mean, uh, it's freaky, it's different, it's weird.
I think
Um,
you could make a case that that's the first exploitation movie. Truly the first, like, legitimate exploitation movie because that's what they were doing, they're exploiting the freaks, and they're real.
mhm.
I don't know what the PC fucking word is to call that now, but, like, they're
Not
real
freaks,
people.
I said.
Yeah, you
Not a
can't call 'em
freak.
freaks. So, I don't know what to call them. They're real people missing, like, limbs and with, things unusual things going on with them, and that in and of itself is ballsy to do, and I think it ruined that guy's career though, didn't it? Like, that's the same guy that did Dracula, wasn't it? Like, the Todd
Oh, it was the
Browning?
same guy, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know, did that ruin his career for real? I didn't
I
know that.
think I think so. I think after that, he was pretty much anatomically challenged. Yeah. Yeah, they are.
But
Um,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose, I don't know if I would have put that at 15 personally, but it's different, that's for damn sure. Yeah, Freaks.
yeah, I
I mean,
think
it's definitely
Carter
one to see, it's one to check.
Carter says this best, yeah, people were not ready for that movie. When it ca they were not that was not at
But,
that
being a
time.
teenager or whatever and, seeing it for the first time, it was kinda like, "Whoa, look at this." We were all about it. It does have a what, Criterion release, I think?
Oh, yeah, that movie's, like, considered a classic now. So,
Mhm.
yeah, Rambo says Todd Browning suffered cancel culture there. So, yeah. Yeah.
So he was canceled, okay, I see.
There's
Um,
there's a scene in that somebody else brought this up too, I can't remember where. The scene at the end where all the freaks, like, kind of I'm sorry, all the unusual people, uh, I'm a good person, I swear to God. All the unusual people, like, form together and, like, to take out the woman and make her like one of them, all that stuff, and there's a guy with, like, no arms with a knife in his mouth crawling towards her, and you're like, "What the
what is he
hell is
gonna
he
do with
gonna
that?
do?" Yeah, it's like, "What?"
A little
Yeah,
slice. He's
yeah.
gonna slice her like an Achilles.
Maybe he could, like, rear back and throw it at her, he's learned that skill.
He's so
Again,
quick.
people, I'm a good person. I want y'all to know that.
Oh my god. But yeah, that's Freaks coming at 15. I don't think they could even talk about that movie now on Shudder, so I don't think that made the list at all.
No,
Did
probably
it?
not.
They
Hold on,
didn't know
let
how
me look. I'll bet it didn't. I'll bet they're just like, "No, we're not even gonna try to
we're
talk
not
about
even
this.
gonna touch this. Yeah,
We're not
physically
we can't
challenged, yeah.
yeah, we can't talk about that." It's not in the top let's see, it's not in the top 40, I'll tell you that. So, is it even on the list? That's rough, man. It didn't even make the list.
It went from 15 to 100 and something.
That's so indicative too of, like, what's going on now. It's not even on here.
Just
Like,
let's just not talk about.
yeah, it's just best to, like, rather than acknowledge it, we're just gonna not even talk about it. Uh,
Oh, Jackson says Freaks doesn't even get recognized because no one wants to offend them. Pretty
yeah,
much, actually, yeah,
yeah.
pretty much. Well, we move on to 14. This is an interesting next little couple of them, but All right. 14 is Halloween. John Carpenter's Halloween, the OG, the slasher. I'm cool with it being in the top 15. Um, I I'm looking at the list now. I mean, I definitely have kind of an issue with the next one, but that's just me.
Yeah. Let me ask people in this chat because I'm curious at this stage. Would you say Halloween is overrated, underrated, or rated like pretty much where it should be at this point?
You know, I I think it's a little overrated, but I still think it's considered a classic. And the only reason I think I consider it overrated is because as a kid and when I grew up, Michael Myers was never, to me, Jason and Freddy were the two. That was the two big wigs when I was a kid. Michael Myers always felt like third. Like he was kind of like a third tier guy. But then as the years went on and we started getting older, it felt like he was the one that was the top dog and Freddy and Jason were underneath him. Now that could just have to do with the amount of stuff they've done with Halloween over the last 20 years that makes him feel more important than the other two because they've kind of just went dormant. So that's where it's funky for me because Halloween always felt like a third tier compared to the other two growing up. I think the original one, at least the first two or first three, are ones I watch yearly for sure.
It's
Um,
weird because I think it has a lot to do with just seeing it as many times as I have now. Like, because I watched it on Halloween this year. That was one of the movies that I watched. Uh, was the original '78 Halloween, and I'm like, it's a classic, man. It's a really well made movie on like a really low budget. At the same time, though, I just would rather watch Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I would rather watch either one of those movies at this point than I would Halloween. I don't know if that has anything to do with it being overrated or not. I'm just saying, like, maybe it's been overexposed. Maybe it's not like, maybe it's the era
yeah,
that it was made that doesn't connect with us as much. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I
But
think
there's some,
overexposed is probably a perfect word for it. And Jamie Lee Curtis came out this week and everybody's talking that she said never say never. Like, dude, do you the last thing I want is another Jamie Lee
I
Curtis Halloween?
look,
Like,
look,
honestly, like to me, that news was like that was a deflating news to me. That wasn't exciting. I was kind of
two,
like, can we just stop this now? Like, I don't mind a Halloween
no,
coming out in
no.
the future, but like, let's do something else here.
Listen, you're gonna bring back Corey Cunningham, and there's gonna be a fight to the death with no. Number one, I'm not shitting on Halloween. I think it's a classic. Let's get that straight before people in here start that. But number two, like I'm with you. The last thing in the world I want is Jamie Lee Curtis in another Halloween movie. Like, just let that shit die. It died a horrible death. With just, it, I feel like that she's constantly trying to like end that series on a high note. Just leave it alone. Like, you ain't gonna do it. The best chance she had to do that was H2O. Like, in terms of the way that movie ended, and they fucked that up. And then she went back and got in Resurrection. So it's like, just let it die. It's over with. I don't need any more shotgun belts and rifles and
Mhm.
survival. People coming out of the woodwork trying to hunt down Michael. I'm fine. Just let it go.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I would like to see him again, but I don't want to see this story anymore. I want to see
No.
something else. Like, I would have actually been okay with them continuing this story with Corey Cunningham playing him. I mean, I would have just something different. I don't want to see Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Myers anymore. Um,
I
but
can't go down that road with you, but I understand. Yeah, I can't.
but I mean, hey, I'm not shitting on how I love Halloween. I mean, I absolutely love Halloween. It's just to me, I feel like because we've gotten so much of it over the last so many years, to me, it feels a little bit overrated because again, growing up, Michael always felt third tier to me. And it could have just been the year I was born and when I was a kid that maybe Halloween was, over and done with and starting to play catch up because it saw the how, Friday and Nightmare were doing things because I mean, come on, people love 4, 5, 6, Myers
Yeah.
Halloween, but when they came out, they weren't really considered much, right? Like
I
I
love
saw
man,
it on TV like growing up, but it wasn't anything that I felt like it was as big of a deal to me.
here's my take on that. Like, I went to the theater and saw 4, and it was at least in the circles that I was in, I don't know across the board or anything, but like 4 was a huge deal because everybody shit all over 3
Mhm.
so bad. And they were like, it didn't have Myers in it. And that was all they cared about at that point. And so in him coming back in 4 was like a big deal and people were super excited about it. And I marked out like in the theater when I saw that movie. I still like that movie. People, it's become fashionable for some reason to talk shit about 4 now, but like I still think that that's a good movie. 5, I mean, whatever. But 4 I think was a good solid return for him for that era, which would have been 88, I think, when that movie came out. So, that's the one that I saw first, I believe. Like, I may have seen parts of, like, Halloween, but I was 8 years old, like, I don't think I saw that much of it, at that point in time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't see the first Halloween I saw in theaters was H2O. So I didn't see any growing up. I mean, I think part 2 was the first Halloween I ever saw, then I saw part 1, I was a kid, and, I always hated 4, 5, and 6, um, growing up. I actually like them more now than I did for a long time. Like, the more I watch them, the more I can appreciate them, and I actually find them kind of almost comfort movies, like, I can just have them on and they're just kinda chill, where back in my teens and 20s and stuff, I was always kinda like, 4, 5, and 6 are boring. I hated the masks in them, like, especially in 4 and 5. Um, they still kind of it's still weird to me, like, I think Michael looks like a doofus in 4, with that mask. I mean, it's creepy mask, but it's just so different than what I was used to,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
but
yeah.
I get it, it was like, if I look at it from a different lens, it's like he did grab it off the dollar store rack or whatever, so maybe it just kinda works out that way, that it's just this
I don't
shitty
think I
mask.
paid as much attention to that as growing up as I did just the fact that, like, it seemed to be attempting to do a more subtle approach to the Michael Myers thing. So, like, it seemed to be trying to go back to the first movie is what I'm getting at, like, and try to
Mhm.
replicate that. Like, now whether or not it did that, that's up for whoever watched it to decide, but, like, once you get to 5, then it gets into, like, a Jason slasher type of vibe where
Nick
there's,
Cage mask, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like the pointed crow-looking mask or whatever the hell that is.
But, I actually, like, get a kick out of some of those sequels with the Thorn like, I get a kick out of the Thorn trilogy now because it's so bonkers to me that, like, they bring in that guy with,
It's
like, the
like
Tommy
Jason Goes
gun
to
and
Hell
shit.
to me. It's like
Yeah.
they both veered off on these paths, like Jason Goes to Hell and Halloween 6, like, both veered into these fucking crazy, like, paths. So when you look back on it now, you're kinda like, I mean, that's kind of fun in a
That's
way.
exactly, that's kinda how I
Yeah.
feel now, looking back, and I'm like, it's just so odd. Like, as young like, my when I was taking things a lot more serious, like, I was like, "What? This is stupid," when I was, like, in my early 20s and late teens and stuff, like, but now I can kinda find it funny. I have not played the new Halloween retro game. Have you?
Mm-mm. Nope. I'm not a gamer. I'm not really a gamer at all anymore.
I'm not either, unfortunately. I wish I was, but I'm unfortunately just not. Um, yeah, I always found that funny too, where like the blonde hair mask shows up for like a random scene.
Like one scene, yeah.
Tra- yeah, Traver comes back to like get his revenge or whatever. All right, yeah. So Halloween comes in at 14. Now, I think this is I don't know. I've been talking to people about this lately,
No.
and people seem to not agree with me on this.
Uh-huh.
Man, I feel like the older I get, the less I give a shit about Scream. Like,
Oh, shit, here we
honestly,
go.
I don't care. Scream's at 15. You're gonna tell me no, Scream's at 13. You're gonna say that that belongs over Halloween? Like, unless Scary Movie has totally ruined this
I think
franchise for me,
Baz, man, I really
for
do.
real, because like I find Scream like I don't find it scary at all. I find it almost like it's almost like comedy horror, right? Like besides that first scene,
I
I
have
don't
I have
know.
2 completely different lines of thought about Scream at this point in my life, and one of them is, like, that modern horror films and just the fact that we're doing this show right now owe so much to Scream because like it revitalized something that was completely fucking dead at that time and it made people want to go back and like look up older horror films again. Like that made that cool to
I
do that.
agree with that. I agree with that.
So, but secondly, though, the other train of thought I have about it is that like all these sequels that are still coming out are kind of ruining that movie's legacy to me because they're all horrible and they just keep coming out and I agree with you. I don't think it's as like good of a film overall as like Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or any of those movies really. Like but what it did do is just completely like relaunch a whole genre like for that time period. So I respect it for that. I also
I
think
agree.
I also think that like the opening of it is still top tier.
Mhm.
It's just it kind of and this may be another example too of where it's kind of like that shit's been done so much now. Like what they did in Scream with the meta stuff has been done so much now that we might just be kind of sick of that as well.
I think that's what it is. I mean, I when Scream came out, I loved it, and I think I talked about this before. Like that really opened up the door for me to really, like you said, I was able at that point to really go back. My parents had an issue. It was my father, my mom had an issue with me growing up watching horror movies. My uncle used to try to get me to do it, but she would always like kind of put a stop to that. I could watch horror movies if they were on television, like on cable, because then she's just assuming that all the bad stuff was cut out. So
Yeah.
I collected a lot of recorded on TV horror movies for a long time. But Scream, we all went to see it as a family because it was like so huge at the
Yeah.
time. And that really opened the door for me to like for my mom to finally be like, all right, well, you can, start going back. And then it was like, watching Psycho and The Birds and then renting them at the videos. Like it really opened up a door because at that point horror became so mainstream that, that opened a door for me to really start finally like checking a lot of these movies out. So I do appreciate it, but I don't know, like you said, I think is it just been the years and years of the remakes and the sequels and the parody movies that it's just totally
Yeah.
kind of like I'm just kind of over it
Yeah,
now? I don't
well,
know.
to me, I think that's got a lot to do with it because, like, you take this past, Halloween, and it's like, I'll bet that was the most popular costume by a mile of anything that I saw. There was 50 kids dressed up like Ghostface, and I think it's just so in your face all the time now. And every time there's a new movie, no matter how shitty it is, it's number one, and it makes like hundreds of millions of dollars, or it's just to me, it's just kind of trash now. Um, and somebody said that a lot of those sequels they didn't need the sequels. I kind of agree with that, even though I like the second one and the third one for nostalgia reasons. Like, did they need them? Are they really
No,
that
I don't
good at
think
this
they needed
point?
them.
Like,
No.
yeah, I
And
mean,
now it's a complete friggin' shit show. I don't even know what's
yeah,
going on anymore. It's just you're right, man. I think it got too popular for its own good, and I think that really hurt it for me. Do I still like it? Like the first one I respected. I mean, I don't watch it a whole lot. Um, I used to be a really, really big fan of it. Sequels, I didn't care for really. Um, I was getting into the new ones a little bit because I liked Barrera or whatever. But now that she's out, I'm kind of like, I don't really don't care. Like Sydney Prescott comes back. Like it doesn't. That's the same with like the Jamie Lee Curtis thing for me. Like I'm
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
over Scream. Will I watch it? Yeah, I'll go see it to check it out. But I mean, if they said we're done with this, like I'm fine with what we've got.
yeah.
Um,
I would love
but
it
I
if they
do.
said they were done. I would cheer if they were just like, "We're
Well,
stopping this."
well, the thing is now is it's like they're
Yeah.
still working on it, and then what they just announced the other day, the Wayans brothers, like we're bringing back scary movies. So is that going to totally deflate the new Scream?
I
Like,
hope
it
so.
already doesn't have its own problems. It's already got like a shit ton of problems, and they're going to be like putting it right against it, and people are going to just like laugh.
Dude, I hope they go after all these movies, like these sequels and stuff, like, I hope they destroy them. That would be amazing.
Night Sin, dude.
Uh,
I'm telling you, I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
scary movie has so much more like memorable parts that
it
it's got to a
does.
point where I get them both confused. I'm like, was that in the Scream or was that scary?
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. People quoting Scary Movie now. It's great. Yeah.
What's
Oh,
it like? What I'm trying to think. Like, I don't remember the exact word, but everybody's like, "Oh, he's got a baby dick too." It's like the
yeah, yeah,
picture.
yeah. Kill swallows.
Oh no! What he? Oh no! What he goes? I got one too. It's like he was talking about like a letter or
Yeah.
whatever. He's like, you got a baby dick too.
No, I got a letter. Yeah.
Oh my god, those are great, man. They're freaking done so well. Um. All right, number 12. We got a little soul asylum. He says misery, bad
Yeah.
misery, baby. Which
That is too high on that list. That is
well,
100% too fucking high on that list.
you don't think misery belongs here?
No.
Come
I
on.
There's no way in hell that I mean, I like Misery, it's fine and everything, but that number 12 above all these other movies, there's no way. I went poopy. It was good.
Matt, I was thinking of you the other day because I went on this weird shopping spree where I bought like all the scary movie masks I could find, all the different expressions. I was like late at night, I was like scrolling around line. I'm like, oh, they have scary movie masks with like all these different. I'm like, I'm gonna buy all of them. So I got the
Oh,
tongue out. I got like the scream, like the. Then I think I have like the stone face one.
that's such a that's such a classic, like, the way that they did that Doofy character is such a classic way to do that, because, like, they tried to make him such a bumbling character, and they just exaggerated that to, like, the 10th degree in that movie. It was great.
Don't bother me
Oh.
while I'm cleaning my room. I love it.
Anyway, Misery.
Misery. So
Look,
I love Misery. I want to hear what you have to say.
everybody loves Misery. There's nothing not to like about Misery. It's like a play, though. It takes place in one room essentially the entire time. And it's all based on the characters, like how well that those actors are. And luckily, Kathy Bates was amazing, but I don't go back and fucking watch Misery, man. Like I don't. Like it it's not an exciting movie. It's more of like a psychological slow burn kind of movie. It should not be this high on this list. That's just my opinion. It's like
Yeah, I
when I
think
think
it's a
about
very well
Misery,
paced movie. I think it's an interesting story. I don't know. I always when I
I
saw
put
it
it in
here, I
my
was like,
mind.
okay, it makes sense.
I put it in my mind with, like, when I think of Misery, I think about, like, Pet Sematary, Cujo, like, it's on that level with me. So, I don't know why those movies are so far down this list and fucking, Misery is number 12.
I don't know. Misery seems like to me, Misery felt like it was on that cusp, kind of like Silence of the Lambs, where it was like it could have it's horror thriller, but like it was taken very serious by the mainstream audience. I feel like did this win
Oh,
an
yeah.
award?
Yeah, she won
I
Kathy
think
Bates won,
yeah.
an Academy Award for it, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always think this is like a big time movie that kind of broke through the genre a little bit. But so to see it at 12, I just feel like, oh, it's classic, belongs at 12.
Dark
But I don't know what everybody else thinks about this movie. Nobody ever talks about it.
fuck.
Let me see.
Nope. Just read the comment.
Oh, you think of Kathy
Yeah.
Bates?
Yeah, that's what he's thinking of.
Oh boy.
Think of that dancing fucking meme.
So that's Misery coming at number 12.
Oh.
Number 11.
She won a Kathy Bates Award. Yeah, she did. Uh,
Oh, I don't know what's going on here.
Nobody knows.
Number 11 is what I was referring to before when we talked about The Ring and kind of introducing me to more of like that Japanese type horror that what's the specific name for it? There's a name for it, right?
J-Horror?
J-Horror, I guess is the name.
Yeah.
And then when I saw this list and I saw this, I was like, holy shit, I need to find this movie. And it's Audition, which I've become, since this list, a real big fan of this movie. I haven't seen it in probably about 5 or 6 years, but after seeing this, I ran and hunted this thing right down. And it's a freaking crazy movie, man.
I remember, do I think this movie should be this high on this list?
You do or you don't?
I no, I don't. But like it is one of the craziest, what you would call like mainstream Asian horror films like that. You know what I mean? Like it didn't get mainstream like The Ring or The Grudge or anything, but it got further than a lot of Cat 3 stuff. So it's like it shares a lot of the same qualities as Cat 3 films and has a lot of the same types of scenes, but it got into the mainstream kinda more so than a lot of those movies did. And that guy is insane. Takashi Miike is fucking one of the craziest directors that got popular. Like, his movies are just chock full of, like, some of the craziest set pieces and, like, death scenes and torture and things like that that you'll see. Um, yeah, and that scene with the bag, I don't give a shit about the scene at the end. The scene that always got me in that movie was the scene with that fucking bag, where she's just sitting there, and there you see that bag kinda off in the distance, but it's, like, just there, and that's a great part about that shot is that it's not even really acknowledged or anything.
Mhm.
You just see her waiting beside this phone and then, like, off a little bit past camera. You're not even really paying attention to it, and then it just moves really quickly, like, and that's to me is the biggest
Yeah, and
scene
I
in
think
that.
that's the scene they were referring to, right here,
Yeah.
is that was that bag scene, but yeah, this introduced me to that movie, and I just remember seeing it and being like, "Holy shit, they're doing some crazy shit over there, and I need to learn more about it." Because I was into a lot of that stuff, like, it really got me interested in a lot of that, but then after a couple of years went by and we were oversaturated with it, I kinda got out of it, but, um, to me, I always looked at it as after I saw this, I always looked at it as a classic. I don't know a ton of backstory on it, like, I didn't realize it was so mainstream for that type of horror, I mean, I wasn't sure, but to me, I always felt like when I saw this at 11, I was like, "Holy shit, this is gonna be something special," and,
Mhm.
it was, and that's kind of the extent of it, but moving into the top 10, 10's interesting to me because, again, this is one. Man, I haven't watched this in a real long time, and this might have been my introduction to this movie, and I believe I only have it on DVD. I don't know if it has another edition I may have not seen, but it's a what, 70s flick, Wait Until Dark, um,
I
about
saw
those
this.
dudes that go after that chick because they wanna get she's got something in her house. What is it, like a doll or something that they're looking for?
It's there. Yeah, it's something like that. I can't remember. I saw this movie really young, man, because it was like one of my mother's favorite horror films, and she always liked Audrey Hepburn and shit like that. So I saw it like when I was 10 or 11 or something like that. It always stuck with me because I always kind of liked it. Um, and the idea behind it being one of those movies where you know some sense is missing, like they did that with Hush to a degree. And what was the other movie they recently did that with too? Um, shit, it's
Mhm.
not coming. It's not coming to me. But anyway, like, yeah, this chat is fucking wild. By the way, uh, it is a classic in and of the sense of like, there's great actors in it. They're all doing a great job. That one of the final sequences where she cuts all the lights off in the place and everything, and to kind of even the field, and Alan Alda jumps out at her. That's the sequence they talk about in the
Oh,
show.
Don't Breathe.
Don't breathe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody know, does this have any kind of new edition on physical media? Because I really don't think I've got this besides an old DVD of this movie, which is then goes to show when the last time I probably watched this was. Um, but yeah, it was an effective movie for sure. But I always kind of found it interesting that it's at number 10, considering this doesn't get talked about much at all. I feel like.
No. I'm wondering, like, it seems like Shutter had it on there too, didn't they? It's somewhere.
I think they did. I think it was higher up though, because I think they even referred to the same scene too.
Yeah, it's number 31 on Shutter's list. So yeah. But it's kind of gained more recognition now because more and more people are kind of catching on to it and watching it, I think, through word of mouth. And it is one of those movies that is definitely like a drama, psychological thriller more so than anything else.
Mhm. Yep,
There's a
I agree. But
Shout Blu-ray. Ah, fuck.
if you guys haven't seen it, I really recommend checking it out. And also seeing this on this list again, I'm kind of like, you know what, I need to give this thing a rewatch. It's been way too long. Um, let's see.
Yep.
Number one is Congo.
Wouldn't that be killer? Yeah.
Could be. We'll have to wait and see. We're at number 9, and I'm cool with this. Top 10 is a real good one.
Yep.
I mean, what can you say? Number 9 is Night of the Living Dead. I mean, what can you say? I mean,
I could say this, there are very few movies ever that completely create a whole genre of films. And Night of the Living Dead is one of those movies. It created the zombie genre, like as we know it. There's been probably more films made off that than maybe anything because they're easy to make. And people make independent zombie movies and they're just easy to. I mean, think about all those fucking movies, man. Train to Busan and like all the other 100 Korean zombie movies or Asian zombie movies or like Italian zombie movies. Like it's had to have been ripped off more times than any other film, with the exception of maybe one. There's two that are kind of like really close, but I think it might be the most ripped off movie. And it's still good. It's one of the few movies I can think of that was made in that time period that you can still go back and watch and you're like, there's still shocking like scenes in it and it still holds up pretty much in every way.
it's crazy, especially because you gotta just think of the backstory with the whole thing and how huge it's become. And did anybody really get their fair share for that movie? Like with it being like in public domain for so long and people just ripping it off and all this other stuff. It's just it's crazy. And you're right, for something like that with the budget it had, it's still super effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's got scenes of, zombies eating mice. It's got scenes of zombies eating people. It's got scenes, we're talking about, don't think anybody had ever really seen anything like that to that extent at that time period.
Yeah, you're right, Carter. That's the first time I saw it too. It was on like a multi-pack. It was always on those 50 horror movie pack or whatever, like for like $5 or $1, and you'd get like 50 horror movies that were considered classics. It was always on there. It's the first time I saw it as well.
I tell you, like, I don't think Romero even gets enough credit to this day, because something I've noticed Romero did that I wasn't really paying attention to that much before is he Trojan horsed like a lot of social messages into like these movies through gore and shit like that. So, how would you get like young kids to pay attention to like a movie like, well, you feel like you like Day of the Dead and all, you put like a shit ton of gore in it and then you back in like a message. So they're going to go to see it for the gore, but then they're going to get like this social kind of, even if they don't even know they're getting it.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know I was getting it either forever, I agree. I think Savini's remake's pretty good. Yeah. I like it.
It's fine. It's a fine. I mean, okay, think about that remake for a second. And the scene that immediately comes to mind, I like that remake. I love Tony Todd's performance in it. But there's no scene in the original Night of the Living Dead that's as goofy to me as that scene where Johnny's head hits the fucking tombstone. And it's clearly like one of the worst mannequins you've ever seen in your life. Like,
you like the Night of the Living Dead when they did that anniversary edition with all that new footage with the priest.
That's my version. Like, yeah,
the heavy metal priest. Yeah,
yeah, that's the version you have to own.
It's like the Papa Roach priest or whatever it was. Dead.
The Papa Roach priest is the best way to describe that guy I've ever heard. Yeah.
Disturb priest or whatever his name was.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you realize I didn't even know that existed until we did that show? I'd never seen that version.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said that, but like,
and when I go back and watch it, you're like, What the hell are they thinking?
that is one of those things where you really watch it like, this is clearly just a cash in. Like, they didn't have to have a copyright. They just wanted to, like, make some money on the
I mean, I
name.
will say this though. I think that love it or hate it, that is a piece of physical media history that I don't think we'll ever see again. So I would highly
No,
recommend people
no.
picking that thing up and just having it in their collection just as for a history thing, because I don't think you'll ever see that thing hit the light of day again.
Yeah, I think that, like, that's something you could show your grandkids and just be like, "Hey, this exists." Like, they did this. I don't know what else you would do with it, really.
But it's wild to me when you watch it and you're like, did they think that like they were doing something good here? Like, oh, we're filling in the gaps. We're making like a better story. Like, did they think that was going to be accepted? That's what the wild part
No,
is to me. Is
I
like,
don't think they
did they
did. I
think they were
really
making like they were like trying to tell George Lucas the thing or whatever, and it was weird.
It was. I don't think that's what their goal. I think their goal was just to cash in on that name. I really do. Like, I think they just knew if they changed it around a little bit that they could put out something that said, like, anniversary edition, whatever, and then more people would buy it and they could collect the money. And I don't think there was any thought of, like, anybody would like that. Like, I really don't. I don't see
But
how.
imagine even just casting for it, like, oh, so what we're doing? What we're gonna do is we're just gonna like make a continuation. We're gonna show you what was going on like over here when this was going. Then we're gonna show you what happened afterwards. Like it was just wild to me.
Yep.
And then we're gonna try to make it look like it was in the same. We're gonna make it black and white. We're gonna make it grainy. It's crazy.
But
Oh, I was gonna ask about this guy. Did he ever go to conventions? He did, huh? Sick.
oh my god, that's fucked up. I would hide. I wouldn't promote any of that.
Imagine going up to him with like it's like his little picture with like the priest outfit, like, oh, it's signed, please.
I'll bet
Night of the
people
Living Dead.
did too. Like, it's a sad thing.
They put him right on that Night of the Living Dead, like one sheet.
Oh,
He's like the Tony Moran of Night of the Living Dead.
yep.
Oh my god. Did he direct Santa Claus?
Yeah,
No.
he did.
Wow.
Russo, yeah.
Sick.
Oh god, that guy. I'm not even gonna get into that. That'd be a whole show we could devote to that.
Number 8. I can't even read my own writing here. What's number 8? Do you know?
Number 8 is a great movie, Carrie.
Oh yeah, Carrie.
De Palma, maybe at the height of what he was doing. Stephen King, one of the first like really great books that he wrote. It's almost a perfect movie to me, really, if I'm being honest. Like, I saw that movie about 2 weeks ago, like leading up to Halloween and all that, and just like watched it again just because I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's pretty flawless, man. Like the acting
Really?
pretty much from top to bottom is pretty fucking great.
Yeah, it's a great one, and it I love it. I think it deserves to be where it is. I mean, what do you think? It could easily be one of King's best adaptations, one of them for sure.
It is to me. I mean, it's up there in the top 2 or 3. You could put that to me anywhere from like 5 to 20 and it would make sense. That's just, I mean, it's a movie that sometimes I think gets forgotten by all these other franchises and things because they tried to make it a franchise. It just didn't work. But like,
Right.
yeah, it's a great movie.
And we're gonna stick to a big heavy hitter. Again, these last couple are huge hits. I mean, this is number 7 is Silence of the Lambs, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and how that kind of got brought into the mainstream, and then people were like trying to figure out if it was horror or not. Well, speaking of that, did you hear now is The Substance is making headlines of getting awards, but they're trying to put it in like a weird category so they don't have to say like a horror or anything like that.
Oh god.
It's like a musical comedy or something. Like it's fucking weird. Like
who the
it's
fuck is
like
trying to do that? Like the Academy?
yeah, I saw it today, like an article or something, because they want
They don't want it.
they want
yeah.
to nominate it for some stuff, and I think they want to get Demi Moore back out there and all this stuff, but they're like, oh, it's going to be listed as a what did they say? I think it said
musical comedy. If that's the
musical
case,
comedy. Yeah, yeah.
oh my god, dude.
Like a musical comedy.
Comedy, yeah.
What?
That's exactly what I think of when I think of The Substance, by the way. It's the way it registers in my brain.
Oh, he said the Golden Globes.
Yeah. I hadn't heard that,
Why? Because
but
there was like a little musical number, like at the end.
that's great though, man. That they're trying to do that just to kind of discredit it, bro.
Best musical comedy.
It is the best musical comedy you'll ever see. Can you imagine like somebody going into it thinking this is
Where's the joke?
it's like fucking Mary Poppins. It's just like that.
The eyeballs in her eye are like changing from blue to green. They're like, ah! They're like,
This is great stuff.
look at it change.
Oh man. If you haven't seen The Substance, like Mayor's talking about on there, you've got to see that movie.
I liked it a lot, man. I've been hearing hype about it, and I was kind of getting nervous because I was like, I don't like when things get overhyped for me.
Yeah, and it always happens.
And,
but
I watched it twice, man, like already, because it's like I thought it was great.
it's the closest thing to Cronenberg that I've seen anybody do, I think. It's like
Yeah.
if you took Cronenberg and Brian Usner around the time they did Society and
Mhm.
you like cram that together, that would be what that movie is.
100%.
But Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite movies. That's a movie that's like a remote dropper like movie for me. Like if it's ever on, I could just drop the remote and just fucking watch it. Like I don't
Oh, it's great.
yeah, I think that you talk about a well acted movie. There may not be a better acted movie on this whole list, really. Everybody won the
Yeah.
Academy Award for that fucking movie, I think. Too.
Yeah, it's great. And then what's cool about it too is it's like there's, everybody talks about Hannibal Lecter, but I mean, there was like multiple stories going on here. There was like a lot of there's a lot of storylines going on here. Everybody had a pot.
I was waiting on this to happen, but yeah, it's also one of the most quotable movies too. She a big old fat person. Oh wait. That's one of the greatest, like weird kind of like doesn't belong scenes, but does somehow, like just kind of showing the way that the guy thinks. Yeah.
I love Manhunter as well. I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
You guys are nuts. But yeah, Silence of the Lambs, I mean, it deserves it. I mean, I don't know where else you would put this. It's good. It's great. You guys are going nuts over there.
Yeah.
I mean, number 6, same thing. The Shining. I mean, getting this down to the top 5, I really don't know where I would put The Shining other than here. When I see what's in front of it, I'm like, okay,
Yep,
this makes
you're
total
right.
sense for me.
You're right, because there's no I mean, no, there's no way I would put it in front of the rest of these movies. Like it has to it's these 6 might be the exact right order with maybe one exception that you could argue one way or the other.
Which is crazy because I'm not sure what Shudder did here, but yeah, when I look at these 6, I'm like, I guess this makes the most sense to me.
Well, let's look at Shudder's top 10 real quick. Let's just do the ones that we've already done. So their number 10 was Ringu. This one right here blows my mind, but I remember talking about this before. Their number 9 was Train to Busan, which fuck that movie. And God, that movie's overhyped. Number 8 is Sinister. Sure.
I mean, number 8, dude. Wow.
Yep. Sure thing, buddy.
I mean, Sinister's great, but I mean, not number 8 great.
It's another movie,
I could
man.
see Sinister in like the 50s or something.
I like that's what I was saying. It's another movie that needs way more time being out there before anybody determines that it's a classic or anything like that. Like, that movie was 2012. So, and number 7 was The Exorcist. So, yeah, that pretty much catches us up to where we're at right now.
People laughing about Sinister.
Sinister, you fuck out of here with that. Yeah. Yeah.
His Shudder's list was highly suspect. Yeah. Yeah, it was The Shining. I mean, what can you say about it? It's considered a classic, considered one of the best. Um, I mean, it's got some moments that I'll never forget. You know,
Yeah, I mean, has anybody in here
even the little
not
one,
seen The Shining?
even the little ones with Danny doing the red rum, doing this. You know, like I mean, when I was a little kid, that freaked the shit out of me, man.
I think at this stage, like, we did a whole show about this movie, and like, so we go back and watch that whole show. But at this stage, I'm more fascinated by all the conspiracy theories about it than I am the movie itself. Really,
That documentary is wild. It's like it's almost like it's hard to watch because you're like, wait, how are we really digging this deep right now? Like,
yeah,
are
it
we
reminds me.
overthinking this right now?
It reminds me. It always reminds me of that documentary of that fucking "It's Always Sunny" episode with Pepe Lope, where he's like, he's got that board and he's connecting all that shit. It's like there's strings to like everything.
I never saw that show.
Oh, you never seen "It's Always Sunny"?
Mm-mm.
Well,
Everybody talks about it though.
there's a scene in it where like a character like goes basically nuts, like paranoid, and he's, you know how you like plot dots and things and
Mhm.
you connect it with like wires. He's got like this board up and there's like 4,000 different possible like things, and he's trying to explain it. It's kind of the same,
Oh yeah, that
you know.
documentary for sure.
Yeah.
It's it's an interesting documentary because I was getting aggravated watching it because I'm like, these guys are out of control. Like I'm like, there's no way that they put this much thought into it when they were making this movie.
No, like a lot of
Oh,
that stuff.
let's hang this over here on the wall. Let's do this. Okay, let's do that.
A lot of that stuff is like the number 23 kind of stuff where you're just out there in conspiracy land, you know.
Well, I'm happy to see that at number 5, this movie got the love it got here because I feel like still it gets love, but not as much. I mean, not enough.
Well,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is at number 5 where it belongs, I think. We've talked about this, man. If you guys haven't, if you want to hear us talk about Texas
yeah.
Chainsaw, you got to go back. We did a video probably like a week and a half ago talking all things Texas Chainsaw. We talked about the history, our history, nostalgia moments with it. We ranked all the movies. We talked heavily into each one. So if you guys want to go back and watch that, if you haven't, you're going to get what we think about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it's cool to see it up here. I don't remember, but did Shudder even have this in the top 10?
This is number 1 on Shudder's
This
list.
was it really?
Yeah.
Dude, I would have never remembered that. I'm shocked, to be honest with you.
It's the number 1 movie on Shudder's list. And I could, if you, this is what I was saying. I could not argue that, and I could not argue the one that Bravo put as number 1 either. I could say either one of those movies at any given time is number 1.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed that that was number 1. I had zero recollection of that. Wow.
Where was this on Bravo's list? It's number, what were we on
5.
now? 5, yeah.
5.
Which, I mean, when you see the movies that come after this, you're kind of like, okay. I mean, you're not as tore up about it, you know.
Right. Right. And again, we don't want to get too crazy into Texas Chainsaw. We both love it. Go check out those videos if you haven't, if you want to know more. But I mean, number 4 is Psycho. I mean,
And really, how are you going to
what
argue
can you
that?
say? Like, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, like, has there ever been a more influential? You could argue that's the most influential horror film. I could argue all of these are the most influential horror film in one way or the other. Like these next 4,
Mhm.
for like different reasons. But I mean, Psycho, man, it's just, it's a classic film with a classic premise with a great character, great acting. Of course, it's got great direction. Of course, the ending is one of the most memorable things ever. Like, it's such an old movie though that people forget.
I
They
agree.
just they just forget like how influential that movie was. And people talk about Peeping Tom. I love Peeping Tom. It's a great film. It just didn't catch on the way that Psycho did. It's not as influential as Psycho because it didn't enter into the zeitgeist, I guess, like Psycho did.
Mhm. Yep. No, I mean, I agree. Somebody says, Carmen says the granddaddy of slashers.
It is.
Um, yeah, the Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, that's the Vince Vaughn one.
It's not that one. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's glorified classic. Influenced a lot of movies. I mean, again, it's still an effective movie to this day. Like it really, really
This is killer comment because it's true. But what did the Coors twins and the cast of One Tree Hill think of
They like
Psycho? They liked it
they
a
like
lot. They were all actually in this. Yeah.
you know what's
Rob.
gonna happen now? Yeah, like Shutter would be like, "Oh, so ahead of its time," you know, him dressing up and you know.
So
Well,
for
we're going to
Psycho, we love Psycho. But number 3 might be my favorite on this list, actually, if I'm being honest. I don't know. It could go back and forth, but sometimes it is my favorite. Number 3 is The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Now here's the problem with The Exorcist to me nowadays. A lot of people went into The Exorcist as probably being the most hyped horror film ever for being scary. And a lot of people that went into it, let's say post 2000s, thinking that were probably disappointed because they'd seen like crazy ass shit over and over and over again. To me, The Exorcist is probably one of the most well made, minimalist horror films that's ever been created by one of the best film directors that's ever lived. Um, there's no fat on this movie. It goes from scene to scene. They establish the family in the beginning and like the little girl and the relationship with the mother and what's going on. And then once they've done that and they've got you to kind of buy into that family and like the characters, everything goes crazy. From that point on, every scene is nonstop, just insanity.
Mhm.
And it's a perfect film, man.
You look like a boxer. I
Yeah.
agree, man. I do you like film? I like talking film. Um, love The Exorcist,
Exorcist.
man. It's probably it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It has been since the first time I saw it, and it still is. And I mean, I can even remember when the big hype for it came out, and like, what was it, '99, when they brought it back to theaters? That was a big deal when they did the version you never seen in the theaters for the first time.
Yeah.
I must have seen it twice in the theater. I was bringing friends. Like I was so excited that it was there, and I think everybody that came with me and saw it found it effective, but I have heard a lot of people say it's super boring, you know, and I'm like, is it though? I mean, I get it.
I,
Like it doesn't really kick on, but I mean, there's so much going on through that
I,
story that I don't really see how it could be a snail. It's not snail's pace at all.
so much stuff has changed since that movie was made. Like so many people have moved away from like organized religion and the church and things like that. I'm sure there are a lot of people that find it boring because a lot of the themes that it deals with. But what it deals with is, good and evil. So I mean that to me is a undying theme. And it also deals with a lot of stuff about family and things like that as well, which is an undying theme to me too. It's just I don't think it has the same effect on people now because people don't they just are not involved in that kind of stuff the way that they were in the '70s. But when this fucking movie came out, man, you gotta think '73 and you're watching stuff like this. They don't even put stuff like this in movies now. They wouldn't even
No,
try to
that
put
crucifix scene is never I don't think that anybody's had the balls to replicate something like that. I mean, that's even astounding that that was even allowed in
yeah.
that movie
Well, I
at
mean,
all.
and think about it. Like, if you were realistically wanting to portray what would happen if a demon or even the devil himself took over like somebody, what would they do? It would be shit like that, right? Like it wouldn't be PC. Like it wouldn't be like you wouldn't have a PG fucking rating on it. Like that would be the kind of stuff that would happen.
It's like a timid devil, like he just like goes a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
He's just like a toe in the water. He's a very woke demon. Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like some of those scenes is just you got to remember this girl was she was portraying. I mean, I don't know how old she was in the movie. Literally, was she
She
under?
was 12 in the movie. Yeah.
And think about that. Think about that scene they had her do at 12 years old. a scene that they have never even had an adult do on film.
Yep.
I mean, I remember when I saw that for the first time, that scene alone, I was like, "What the fuck is gonna happen here? What's going on? If they did this already, like, what the hell else is there to come?"
It's
You
a
know, it
movie, yeah, it's a movie where, like, I love movies like this too, and I say this all the time. I like a movie where you feel like the person knows what they're doing, but you also feel like that you don't feel safe. You feel like that, like, they could go any direction with it. Like, and, you don't feel like that something that you can expect is gonna happen.
even other things like that don't even have to do with that whole her being possessed is like I find the scenes of her at the in the hospital in the doctor's office
Oh,
super
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
When they're
man, I
sticking
mean,
the needle in her neck and like all the blood like that's still
yeah,
I have a tough time even like stomaching that. Those are tough scenes too of her like swearing and her in the going into the machine or whatever, like all that shit.
yeah.
Um,
And then just a gradual kinda build of that too, to where it just starts out with, like, little things of her kinda cursing, and then it gets to the point where, she's sitting up in the bed and her head spins around like,
mhm.
looking backwards at her. Yeah. I mean, the PC Pazuzu.
I made a sandwich.
Where's the woke, creepy Kentuckian when you need him?
Your
We need
mother
him
made a
right
sandwich.
now. Oh god. I think when Linda Blair do it in Repossessed? She was like, "Your mother sews socks in hell," or something like that. She changed the line.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
The PC Pazoo new T-shirt.
The PC Pazuzu. I think number 2 might get some shit though, man. I
I
think number
agree.
2,
I agree.
we'll see. We'll see.
And it's Alien, the OG. Now, this is just me. This movie scares the shit out of me still. Oh, that though I've talked about this 100 times before. The face huggers are probably the scariest thing to me in any movie.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't do it with those fucking things. They're freaking creepy. The legs, the
Yep.
wraps around your face, puts that shit down your throat, wraps around your throat with the tail, and the whole thing. It's I can't stomach it. It's scary, man. I mean, that him just laying there with that thing on his face
Yep.
and whatever the hell was going on there, and
It's face raping him. Yep. Graping him.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is talking not even we're not even talking about the mother alien here. Like we're not even at that point yet. So
Dude, if I'd have known you had this much of a version of these things, I should have bought you one of those little, like, test tube things that I saw at that convention that had the alien face huggers in them.
well, I
And just
have this
send it
thing.
to
This thing's on my desk here. It's still a little bit uneasy.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
like it.
similar to that, except it had, like, the liquid in it, and the thing was actually in it. It
Yeah,
looked
no,
like it was,
I don't like it. But the more lifelike ones are the really those like people keep sending me pictures of like NECA came out with like a 1-to-1 scale. I'm like, don't even send me this. I don't even want to see
just buy it for you.
it. So yeah, I
Alien
don't like
Alien, I still go back and forth with this Alien, a horror film. Like, Alien to me seems like a science fiction film. It's got elements of horror, but it seems like science fiction first. So I don't know. Is it an effective film? Yeah. It's another movie too where like you forget like how shocking it was to see something like that at the time period that it came out. Um, because I know it was shocking when I fucking saw it in like the 80s. So
Mhm.
the little thing popping out there. That is still, by the way, a great effect when the chest burster comes out and it's just sitting there,
Yeah.
its little tails curled up. It's like hissing. Yeah.
I mean that whole scene is hard to watch because it's the tension. You know something's about to happen, and they're all kind of looking around, waiting, basically. They're like, okay, something's gonna happen here, and just you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen with this dude, and then you think he's okay, and then it's a whole thing. But I think I'm cool with Alien being that too. I mean, I totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
got a
yeah,
great it's got a great ending too. where they're going around and trying to, figure out where it's at and all that stuff. And then like there's the one scene where there's the actual guy like in the big alien suit. I think it was the guy that
Mhm.
was in Predator, wasn't it? Kevin Peter Hall or whatever his name was. I think it's the same guy
Was it? I
who
didn't know.
who who played that. It seems like I read that somewhere. But
Did you know
anyway,
that
it
Van
made
Damme was supposed to play the Predator?
yeah,
Oh,
there's actual footage of that, I think. Yeah,
yeah, it is, yeah. It's so
it's just
sick.
ridiculous. Yeah. But,
But
real quick, I wanna catch everybody up on what Shudder's list was
yeah.
here. So, moving from, like, 5 to the number 2 position, it would have been, Psycho was 5 on their list. Audition was 4 on their list. Hereditary was I can't even say that. Hereditary was 3. The Thing
Hmm.
was number 2. I think that movie has gotten a lot more popular
Oh,
over the
yeah, since
years.
then. Yeah, I agree.
Uh, and I think I'd already mentioned Texas Chainsaw was number 1,
That
so
is an
yeah.
interesting top 5 though, for sure.
Yeah.
So Alien wasn't even in there.
No, not on that. Not there anyway. Let's see, where did they put Alien? They had to put it on here. Yeah, it was number 11.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Again.
Don't pull it up.
I'm not pulling it up.
Alright, the number 1,
Uh,
people are like, "What could be number 1?" Number 1 is Jaws, which I don't know who can really be pissed about that.
somebody will argue it. I don't think you can argue that movie could be number 1. Um, that's another one though, man. I don't know if you are this way, but like whenever that movie is on, I watch it. I just
100%.
stop whatever I'm doing and watch it. So
So good. It's amazing, and you said you wanted to mention something once we got here. What was it?
for people that haven't seen this, I don't know how new this is. There is a documentary about John Williams. I don't know how old or new it is, but it's talking about his life and all the movies that he's scored and things like that as a composer. It's one of the best documentaries I've seen. I guess maybe it's because I have like an interest in music and stuff too, but like just there's a scene in it where like they will take out the music and just show the scene in each one of these movies without his music. And you got to keep in mind, he wrote the Jaws theme. Think about this for a minute. He wrote the Jaws theme. He wrote the Star Wars theme. He wrote the Close Encounters theme. He wrote the Jurassic Park theme. He wrote the Home Alone theme. He he wrote the Schindler's List theme. He wrote the Monday Night Football theme. He wrote the NBC News theme.
Wow.
I mean, it goes on and on and on. But anyway, they take out the parts. The Raiders of the Lost Ark theme too, by the way. And they take out like his music and just show the scenes, and you're just like watching Jaws, without that music, and it's not
Mhm.
anything at all like what it would be when he adds that in there. So, I mean, to me, Jaws, from the score of that movie to the lead characters, to the direction, to the shark, everything in that movie is perfect. Superman theme too, yeah.
I agree. I mean, I can't deny it. One of the greatest movies of all time, um, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, that was our list, guys. We went a long time, weeks talking about this. Then we finally brought it to an end. And I think it ended on a good note. I mean, there was some shaky ones up at the top end of this list that we were kind of laughing at and discussing and debating about. But I think once we got into this top 20, I think we pretty much agreed on a lot of this stuff, and so did the chat. So, I mean, that was the Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments from 2004, and I know you guys want us to do our own list, or is there any other type of things like this out there? We did Shutter, we did this one. I think that's it, right? They didn't really have a big deal one besides like every year where they'll do it in like Variety or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's weird because they did something this year that was similar to this. It was on like AMC or whatever. Did you see that?
No.
It, yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but they did something similar to it. It had like maybe 5 episodes though, and it wasn't nearly as good as these list shows were. But yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a 30th even scarier
Yeah,
movie
there
moment.
was.
Like a part
Yeah.
2. I know everybody said we should do our own list, but
Yeah.
it's just an undertaking, it really is. Like it would take a while. Because I mean you could look at these and change these, but because we have such different opinions and taste, I think that we'd have so much stuff that's randomly thrown in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know, like, how we would do that, man, but I would love to attempt it at some point. I'm not sure. We'd have to come up with some way to do it. It would be an undertaking that would take months, probably.
I mean we could do like he said, we could do 25. That would be a lot easier. Each do 25, see if they match. Or look at each other's and maybe come up with a one solid list. 25 seems pretty good.
Yeah, I think 25 is doable. Like, we could all make our own list and just kinda see what pops up over and over.
Yeah, we could probably do that. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I wouldn't be, against doing the 30 or whatever more scarier movie moments or whatever the heck they did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against doing that in a couple weeks, perhaps maybe before the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, what do you got going on you guys? You guys are pumping a lot of stuff out.
Um,
Such a good team over there. Everybody's doing their own little jobs. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true. Like, we've got, like, our own little, like, pockets of people that are all doing, like, different stuff. So we got the Dead Pit is Watching thing that comes out about once every, like, couple of weeks now, where it's just like the review show where we review, like, a lot of
Mhm.
movies. That's
That's a
coming
good one.
out.
That's a good idea.
We've got, Friday Night Lives, which is a great show with me and Mark and Rambo that comes out every Friday at 10. And then what the fuck is there? I don't think there's any shows lined up or anything like that.
Well, I know we talked about this week. We're gonna do the trick or treat multi
Oh
unboxing
yeah, I mean
showcase show.
that's gonna happen whenever we get our shit in for sure. Which I'm hoping is Monday. I hope it's tomorrow.
Mhm. So
So
yeah, you'll see that this week. I've got some list videos coming up. I just did an overlooked, 10 overlooked movies from the 90s. I got a werewolf top 10 favorite werewolf movies coming out. Um, the greatest heavy metal horror movies. I
it's
have
a
that
great
one
one.
coming out to coincide with the trick or treat. Um, yeah, I mean that's it. And then obviously any kind of streams I do, just Q&As or haul streams. I got a bunch of new stuff here. Um, I just got a thing today with Frogman, WNUF 2, Deathstalker, a little TerraVision box. Did you end up getting Tenant?
Oh yeah. You have it?
You did. Yeah, I got it.
I was gonna grab it, but yeah. Like, I think that's one of my contenders for the best packaging of
I
like the
I
year.
have the Blu-ray from Scream, and I was like, I guess I'm good with this. And I went to a convention, and they had Tenet on the table, and I looked at it, and I was playing with it, and I was like, oh shit, I need this.
Yep.
So that's what happened. I mean,
It's
it
pretty
really is.
badass.
Oh man.
I love that movie
I
too. That might
Dog
be my
Soldiers will not be
favorite.
on my list. I'll just call it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to do the trick or treat. What? Your trick or treat book was messed up? No. What was the matter with it?
That's awful. I hate that.
Has anybody have you heard about anybody's stuff being wrecked?
Mm-mm. Not
No
yet.
way. Really? Hmm. That's the first I've heard about that. That's interesting. You said yours hasn't shipped from Synapse? I'm surprised.
Me
Unless you
too.
got it like this weekend, maybe. But yeah, you guys can check out that show. I mean, I'm thinking we probably can get that done on Tuesday night. I'm hoping we have them by Tuesday.
Surely to God. Between yeah. I mean, if you bought anything from Synapse, it definitely should be here by Tuesday. Around the time
I
that it
got
went on sale.
I got mine from Orbit. So I haven't even got a shipping notification from them, so I don't even know what's going on with it. And I
Orbit?
literally was probably one of the first people to buy it from Orbit because I got as soon as that site crashed, I got a message saying you can get it here to Orbit. So I clicked it, bought it, and then I started telling people to go to Orbit. Because I didn't know what was going on. I
Well,
wasn't sure what the hell was
that was
happening.
one of the funniest things ever, man. That's a severing moment with them when everybody's trying to get on that Synapse site and it's like just everything's crashing. I didn't even know that it was available in other like sites until somebody
I
from
didn't either.
the Discord put that up, and I was like, okay, I'll do that.
But I'm surprised they never mentioned that before. Because that would have limited traffic to their site. But did they want you to technically buy it? Does it help them buying it direct? Probably.
Yeah, it would because I'm sure they don't get as much profit as they do when they do through like Orbit or Diabolic or
Mm.
something like that.
So his Scrooge McDuck pile is just a little bit smaller now.
Dude, he's made a fortune off that. I mean, you can say whatever you want to about like, the price or whatever, but everybody bought it and he has made a flat
Well,
killing.
you gotta. I mean, even if you just, I mean, obviously there's money coming in, but there's money going out. I'm sure Don May got a cut. I'm sure
Yeah.
he had to pay off some of these people that maybe he interviewed. I'm sure he had to pay for cost on a bunch of this shit. All this stuff costs money. He has to pay the printer. He has to pay, whoever the hell's doing the boxes and the art, and the artists, I'm sure, are getting a chunk, like a little piece or whatever. So I'm sure there's money going out, but if you calculate that up, $66.66, and then how many were there total? 6,000 a piece, right?
Yeah. Was that it? Was it 6,000 a piece or 6,000 altogether? I don't know.
I think it was 6,000 a piece because
If it's 6,000 a piece, then Jesus, he could probably
no,
just buy like a.
I don't remember now how many there were a piece, because he said the other day there was 600 left of slip cover B and the other two were sold out. So if there's 600 left, I mean, and
Yeah.
Diabolic each had some, and Orbit seats, how much could there have been?
Well, cable guy saying there was 2,222 a piece.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay.
thought too.
All right. So there was 6,666 all together. Okay.
Yeah.
So that times that by 6666.
Somebody will do it before I can even get my calculator up. So just go ahead.
Calculate that.
Calculate it.
Sippy is sipping wine in a silk robe, watching the stream and by his jacuzzi.
Yeah. He's stuffing his
He's
money.
calling Stuntman right now and be like, "Is there anybody next to you that's selling a house?"
Can I get some German?
He's gonna move in his
All right, so
Stuntman's neighborhood.
66 times he made
666.
6,666. He made the 444,355. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So let's assume he made half of that.
It's good.
He still just made like $222,000
on one release.
Yeah. I mean,
Sick.
that's a low estimate. That's assuming that like everything else took half of like what the rest of his profit was. So yeah.
You know what he should do on his desk? He should, next time he goes live, he should be sitting on like a little throne on his computer. Like a gold chair with like velvet on it. So. He's so killer.
Oh, dude.
It's like, here you go, Don May, $666 for you. You son of a bitch. Taxes, true.
Yeah.
Not to mention what he's flipping on eBay. He's got some of those title C's for $300.
Dude, he always does this shit though. It would not at all surprise me if he didn't hold back like about 100 of them. And you know how much money he can make just doing that? Like once they sell out, like I would do that. Fuck a bunch of like not doing that. Jesus. You make $100,000 just on that.
That's true. He will make more money on the standard release too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So good for him, man. I mean, hopefully this gives him a little kick in the ass because we both know that he's working on another one already, or he's already got a next one in the works, and hopefully it kicks him in the butt to be like, you know what, like some real shit could happen here. So let's get these things going, you know. I
Yeah.
think now he wasn't sure, you know, and he was still doing jobs and he was still trying to do this, but he had other jobs coming in, so his focus couldn't be primarily on this. It had to be on this, and plus these other people that were paying him on the side, you know, to fund something like this, right? Like these other companies that he was
Oh
doing work
yeah,
for.
yeah. I mean, and that
Now
was
when
the.
he sees this, he might be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna concentrate on my own shit for a little
I
while."
think that's what he kind of alluded to in that. He's like he kind of alluded to that that wouldn't be the case the next time he puts something out. Like he would, I think he's going to focus more on these releases than he is on all the other companies that have him doing stuff. To me, the only thing that would top that probably at this point is if he got like Fright Night 2, or if he got like the night if he had something to do with the Nightmare on Elm Street set or something, which we all know is coming out.
Imagine Nightmare on Elm Street box set red shirt pictures.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's going to be the case. He's got a better chance of
No,
doing
no.
Fright Night 2 than he does. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah.
If
I
he's
mean,
if he's going to Olive Garden for the rest of the year, every day he's just there. Yeah.
but yeah, he's again. I think he'll be okay. He's just gonna. I think he's just gonna try to get a goal, and even if he says, you know, my goal is to do 4 releases a year, I think that's a good goal. That's
Yeah.
fine. You know,
Yeah.
1 a quarter. I think that's. I don't know if that's enough time or not. I mean, considering this was a year after the fact that was supposed to come out, I don't know if that's too crazy to think 4 years for a year, but yeah, like, you know, don't try to keep up with all these other companies. Like, just focus on like maybe a big 4, big 3 a year and do it. I mean, Jesus, if they sell the way this thing did, you can do it that way. But
Yeah, I'm not sure if anything will sell like this. Like, because I mean, this was.
I think Fright Night 2 would. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
anything else
yeah,
off the top of my head that I think would be this sought after that we haven't already gotten.
yeah.
No.
I think he'll do well with that label though, because now like he's got this and it did amazing, and yeah, I think that he'll like. I would buy anything he puts out, just to be honest. But then again, I buy anything Synapse puts out too because I like the people involved in those
Mhm.
companies. So,
Mhm.
yep.
Yeah, I agree. I'm at this point as a collector too. I'll take quality over quantity. I mean, there's so much out there you can't even keep up anymore, and it's like half the time you're making lists on what do I have to buy now versus what can I wait till it goes on sale, and it's just like take your time. Give focus on getting big titles. Focus on making them legit editions, and I wish more companies would do that. To be honest, it's hard to keep up. It really is. And that's why sometimes things pass you by. Sometimes you get stuff. Sometimes you don't. And yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I don't think at this point anybody should be trying to keep up with the Joneses when it comes to like buying physical media because you're not going to be able to keep up with a lot of these people.
no, definitely not. I mean, a lot of these companies are doing 4 a month. I mean,
Yeah.
let alone 4 a year. But I didn't see this. Sorry about this. Carter sent in a super chat.
Oh
So
yeah.
97 show. Actually, I
Review
would love
shows.
to do a Survivor Series show this month with be in November. Hell yeah. I would love to do that. Maybe right around the holidays if we have some time.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving night.
Let's do it. Thanksgiving right around 3. Let's fucking
We'll do it. We'll do it late at night, like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Everybody will be dead to sleep at the houses. We'll do
Yeah.
a Survivor Series show. Wes probably wouldn't be able to, but maybe. Can I
That
help you?
That last show, yeah. So killer. Can I help you? He's so mad. I've never seen anything that great. Like where he was.
You gotta go back and watch the
Can
Texas
I help
Chainsaw
you?
show.
She was so big.
It's like he's working at like a store on his service desk. May I help you with something?
Oh, that was so great. Because he's just sitting there, and you could tell there's something bothering him. He doesn't say anything about it, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, "Anything I can help you with?" Or something like that.
People in the chat are like, "What the hell are you guys laughing?"
Oh God!
Can I help you with something? What was that? Texas Chainsaw, right? You got to go back and watch the Texas Chainsaw show if you want to
yeah.
know what we're talking about. It's priceless.
Oh,
But yeah,
God.
guys, thank you so much for hanging and banging with us these last 6 weeks or so, whenever this was. It's been a hell of a ride, guys. It's been fun. It's always cool doing these kind of different shows, and we both got a lot of stuff going up on the channel. So if you're not subscribed to Dead Pit, go subscribe to them, and you can find me over at Born to Be Rad. This is Garrett at UB signing off, and like always, stay rad
And stay dead.
I'd like to tell people thumbs up the video, Uncle Bill.
Would you?
Yes, thumbs it up with violence and fury and just love everything about it.
You hit the heart button, then you hit the ass button, then you hit the go fuck yourself button. Follow that up with the I don't give a shit button.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts